Well, the countdown to splashdown is on. I'm Garrett Weimer, joining you with our special coverage tonight. Fox 35 News Plus, a special coverage of the splashdown of Artemis II, live on Fox 35, Fox 51, and Fox 35 Plus right now, as well as our live streaming platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and Fox Local. So we appreciate you joining us. We're going to be with you on these various platforms over the next few hours and take you through splashdown, which is scheduled for 1 hour and 7 minutes from now. Less than that at this point. Here's our countdown to splashdown. 8:07 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, when that crew splashes down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Southern California in the San Diego area. So as we continue our countdown to splashdown, we also want to know what questions you have about the Artemis II splashdown. Send those in to us. We've already gotten some great questions throughout the day that we've been covering during our live streaming news coverage on Fox 35 News Plus earlier today and on Florida Live. Let us know what questions you have about the Artemis II splashdown. You can scan that QR code that you see on your screen right now. Just point your phone at it, your camera at it, and it'll pop up a link. You click on it and then type in that question. Give us your name. Tell us where you're watching from. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, drop a line in the comments as well. We'll be watching there for some questions. Let me give you a live look right now as well from inside the Orion capsule. And I'm going to leave up this QR code as well so you can get those questions in. But you can see the Artemis II crew, those 4 astronauts, tucked inside very tightly right now. In their orange entry suits, their helmets on as well. We're talking about Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen. Their 10 days in space are coming to an end, and look at that view. We have watched throughout the day as this capsule has gotten closer and closer to Earth, and now you can see just how large our planet is looming now in front of that capsule. So getting ready to a historic end to a historic lunar mission that has really captivated the attention of the country over the past 10 days. I want to bring in now Fox 35's Esther Bauer, who is joining us live this afternoon from Kennedy Space Center along Florida's Space Coast. And Esther, the last time we checked in with you out there was a very different scene for the launch. There were so many people out there on launch day, so a very different scene out there today with the attention on the Pacific Coast, but still a historic day here at Kennedy Space Center.
Yes, Garrett, it was incredible out here for liftoff, and you're right, it was a very different scene. We had stages everywhere, cameras everywhere, tripods, cars everywhere. We're not seeing that right now, but this is where the historic mission started. I actually have the launch pad over to my left, and I'm just thinking about how the rocket was on that pad 10 days ago, and then we saw liftoff. We saw the 8 million pounds of thrust sending it to the moon, and now we're getting some real numbers from NASA about how far this crew has traveled. We are seeing the total distance of 694,000 miles from liftoff to splashdown, and it's just incredible to think we are an hour away, like you said, 8:07, from seeing this crew splash down. And I really loved, like you said, watching the live feed and seeing our planet, seeing Earth get bigger the closer that this capsule gets to coming home. And what's also very cool about this is Earth's gravity is actually pulling them back to Earth. They're not using fuel. They're really not using their thrusters much. It is our gravity. It is our planet saying, come back to us. We are ready to have you back home. Now, we are coming towards the last leg of this mission, but we also know, Garrett, things are not slowing down. And quite frankly, for teams on the ground, things are picking up rapidly. We do want to talk about what we're going to see starting around 7:53. We are going to see this crew in the Orion capsule in a literal fireball coming back down to Earth. I find this striking. The capsule is going to hit speeds of 25,000 miles per hour, and then in a mere 13 minutes, they are going to go down to 19 miles per hour. That's because we're going to see several parachutes come out. That is used to stabilize the capsule and slow it way down, 25,000 miles down to 19 miles per hour. So then the capsule will gently glide into the Pacific Ocean. So right now, I can tell you off the coast of San Diego, we have Navy ships already in place. They are about 6 miles or so away from where the capsule will splash down. And we're told as we get closer to that 8:07 time frame, they're going to be inching closer, 5 miles away, 3 miles away, and then boats are ready to go around the capsule and then get the crew out safely. So teams over at Johnson Space Center in Houston, teams on the ground in San Diego, the Navy is there making sure that the crew is recovered safe and sound. And some of the people that have been training with this crew for years, a quote that someone just said is, "That's what we're here for. We want to get the astronauts home safe." Because really, NASA says this crew has done their job. They have done what we've asked them to. They've gone around the far side of the moon. They've gone farther than any humans have ever gone before. They've taken the striking photographs of the moon. They've done the science on themselves that we needed them to do, and they've tested the capsule. Now it's up to us, it's up to NASA, it's up to teams on the ground to make sure every last point of this mission is precise. All those minutes from 7:53 to 8:07 go perfectly. And I can tell you, Garrett, right now the calls we've been hearing is everything is going well. Keep in mind they changed the angle. They're coming into Earth because there were some concerns with the heat shields on Artemis I. NASA feels very confident with the angle that they are re-entering the Earth. The crew will be safe, and that has been their #1 goal from liftoff to splashdown. NASA's new admin, Jared Isaacman, said he's not going to celebrate at all until this crew is safely in the water and parachutes are deployed. So we are just in the last hour to where we are going to see this historic mission coming to an end. But Garrett, I'm sure the world will still be talking about this mission for years and years and years in the years to come.
Oh, there is no doubt about that. With the images we've seen, with the connections that have been made with this crew, I mean, there is no doubt that that there will be a lot made of this into the future. And Esther, while we've got you here, I just want to pull up here and we can walk through some of the critical events that we're going to be kind of keeping an eye on over the next little bit. You mentioned a number of them, and one of them comes up at around 7:33, so in about a little less than half an hour from now, when the Orion crew and service modules are going to separate. So the crew module, obviously where the crew is right now, they are going to separate from that service module, and that's going to allow the crew with that heat shield to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, while that service module essentially going to burn up in space right now. And then just a few minutes after that separation is that raise burn that Esther, you talked about, where they're going to make sure that they are essentially tilted at the right angle. And that is where we saw some of those changes, Esther, after the issues with the heat shield on Artemis I. I know you've been talking with some experts about that this week, and that was something that was intentionally changed for this re-entry after the issues of Artemis I.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Artemis I heat shields, they've been something we've been hearing about for several years. Some have a lot of fear going into splashdown, and they are concerned that, you know, the crew might not be safe, because what we saw in Artemis I was when that capsule came down, again, no humans were on board, but the heat shields were charred and some pieces had actually broken off. That is not something you want to see, because that is the shield that is protecting anyone inside from the 5,000 degree temperatures that the capsule could hit. So NASA spent several months, brought in a lot of scientists, a lot of data was done, a lot of research was done. Hey, is it safe to put Artemis II on this capsule? Now, NASA does think, because like you said, they're changing that angle, they are going to be able to avoid those problems, and we are going to see a safe and successful splashdown. Something else to note is is that this crew who's on board right now, if we have the live picture of the feed, you can see the astronauts in their suits. They've been part of this research, of this working document of, hey, what went wrong in Artemis 1, and are we going to be safe on Artemis 2? And every single time, which is quite a bit, the astronauts have been asked, do you feel safe going on this mission knowing what happened in Artemis 1? The crew has said yes. We've been in the meetings. We've had those tough conversations. We feel good going forward. So the crew is absolutely backing the decision that NASA has made. And every single time, even up to the final briefing we had on Thursday, NASA again said they are confident in the data, the research, the changes that they've made, and we are going to see this crew come home safely. So it's just crazy, Garrett, how much has to happen, though. And like you said, that 733, we'll see that module come off the capsule, and then to go into that 807. So many things. One of the NASA admins said that they are tracking about 1,300 things on a checklist. My checklist can only usually make it to about 5, but he has a checklist in his head right now of 1,300 things that have to go right for this crew to make it home safely. So it's not like they're coasting into the mission being done. They are ramping up to crazy amounts before we actually fully see this mission finish.
Yeah, it's fascinating and going to continue to be fascinating to watch. They're going to enter the atmosphere 400,000 feet above Earth, and like you said, just going to be a wild ride, I'm sure, for those astronauts as they rapidly slow down from those top speeds to just 19 miles an hour when it's all said and done, and we see them splashing down not too far from the live shot of this ship that we're looking at off the coast of San Diego.
Now we have the ship back with us, and Megan Cruz.
It'll be awesome. I was thinking about, I wonder what is more exciting for them or the most exhilarating, if it's lifting off and going into space, because I'm sure that feels crazy, or if it's this part of coming back to Earth consumed in a fireball. I think both are crazy, exciting, dynamic. Their bodies go through so many changes, but I am just personally curious for which one they feel the most and how it affects their body. It's really, I also wonder how the astronauts are feeling, because when they were in these orange spacesuits, they were getting ready to go to space, and now that they're putting their orange suits back on, this also means the mission is coming to an end. We hear often from the astronauts at the International Space Station, they just love going to space. They love doing what they've trained for all these years. So I bet this is a bittersweet time for this crew. They've seen stuff that no human eyes have ever seen before. They've broken so many records. They are truly a historic international team. Granted, I'm sure they miss their families. They want to give their loved ones a hug, who have probably been holding their breath every single night since they lifted off, but definitely a bittersweet time because what they spent all these hours, all these years training for has just wrapped up in a short, I'm sure it feels like, 10-day mission.
Well, Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate you joining us. I know you've been covering this for a while now and throughout this mission, so we will check back in with you coming up in a little bit, so we'll let you go for now, but thanks for joining us on our special coverage here this evening.
Sounds good, and we'll see you soon.
And again, we are just getting started here. We're going to take you through Splashdown on Fox 35 TV. We'll also be with you in extended coverage on Fox 35 Plus, WRBW, and then on our streaming platform as well. You'll also be able to watch the news conference, the Post-splashdown news conference that's coming up later tonight. So we're getting ready to take our first break right now, but as we do so, I want to pop up again this QR code so you can send in your questions. We've got several guests who are going to be joining us over the next little bit who will be able to answer those questions. So scan that QR code that you see on your screen right now and let us know what questions you have. So we're going to take a break right now, but keep it right here. We'll be back with more special Countdown to Splashdown coverage right after this. Welcome back into our countdown to splashdown coverage. This is a live look right now off the coast of California, awaiting the arrival of the Orion capsule carrying those 4 Artemis II astronauts. It's already taken them so far around the moon, traveling farther than any humans have ever traveled before. Just has to carry them a little bit farther for them to arrive back at home. And if you were watching with us this afternoon, or this evening rather, on Fox 35, Fox 51, Fox 35 Plus, or on Fox Local and our digital platforms, we want to know what questions you have about the Artemis II splashdown. Scan the QR code that you see on your screen right now and let us know. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can also drop a line in the comments and let us know. We're going to be talking with some experts and get those questions answered for you this evening as our coverage continues. Also want to give you a live look right now inside the Orion capsule. These images, of course, coming to us live courtesy of NASA. Right now, you can see those 4 crew members behind those control panels in the crew module that in about 15 minutes from now is going to separate from that service module and will shortly after that begin its descent to Earth. Give you one more live look off the coast of San Diego, where the weather looks nice for this splashdown. I've got Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, who is joining me live here in our streaming studio because Laurel, we talked so much leading up to the launch about weather for the launch. It held off. Things worked. We also know that weather is an important part of this splashdown. At this point, there's really not a whole lot that can be done about it either way, but it looks like weather's going to be good in the next little bit. Walk us through it.
I'm really hoping that weather is basically step 1 in the safety process of this being a successful splashdown and getting these astronauts home safely. Of course, they have to get through the heat shield first. We'll talk about that in a second, but if you could actually, oh yeah, that's a perfect look of it. Just notice first and foremost that wave height. It is calm out there. Taking a look out there on the Navy ship that is part of the recovery vessels that are going to be helping escort these 4 astronauts back to shore eventually after the splashdown a little bit later on. But one of the main criteria is wave height. Of course, they are splashing down, and depending on where they land, there is kind of a zone off the coast of San Diego where they're looking for the splashdown to occur. But depending on where they actually hit the water, it could take up to 2 hours for these ships in order to recover the vessel overall and get to those 4 brave astronauts. Taking a look at the weather criteria though, wave height looking good out there. It needs to be less than 6 feet. They're looking at about 2 feet right now, foot max. So things are looking good out there. Winds is criteria number 2. Needs to be less than 28 mile per hour winds or less than 25 mile per hour knots, which is what ships use in order to make sure that those winds are staying on course. Visibility, you can basically see 4 miles, and that's going to be one of the main things that the ships are going to use in order to get to Orion as quick as possible after splashdown occurs. And things are looking good out there, Garrett, right now. Rain far away, but if there was a shower that did pop up close to the Southern California coastline, it needs to be at least 35 miles away. So it does look like the weather is going to cooperate for us here as we take a look at the splashdown for Artemis II.
Well, that's certainly a good thing that we need to kind of play along nice with us here as we're waiting on that return. We are going to continue tracking this forecast here, and you're going to walk us as well through kind of the splashdown zone, because we know the trajectory that it's going to be taking once it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure. So really breaking things down. There was honestly a little nerve-wracking originally this morning when we were keeping an eye on the forecast. You kind of see this area of low pressure system right above that red box where it says low pressure system over Northern California. Luckily though, all the rain staying Bakersfield and north, which is great news. You can see the splashdown zone circled in yellow right by San Diego, and it looks like the winds and the waves are not going to be a concern through the rest of the evening. moving. So it does look like all those boxes are very much checked for weather to cooperate to get the Artemis II crew home safely. Now, I do want to just break down the entire travel of how quickly these guys are going to be traveling as soon as they break Earth's atmosphere. So Orion's going to enter Earth's atmosphere at about 7:53 p.m. and they are going to be moving. I'm talking a speed of 24,000 miles, and the heat shield is going to have to withstand roughly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit upon entry. So the reason why we kind of have Bangkok kind of picked out right there is because this is where Orion is going to be entering, and again, this is going to be a speed of 24,000 miles. So even though the Pacific Ocean is the biggest ocean on Earth, they are going to be crossing this in a matter of minutes. 7:53 is also when we're watching for communications to be completely blacked out, so we will not be able to communicate with the Orion Artemis II crew until they start to get a little bit closer to San Diego, because it is going to be so hot and they are going to be moving so fast. So they are going to be zooming across the Pacific Ocean in a matter of 8 minutes, Garrett. This is going to be really quick, and they're going to be slowing down really fast. So once they get to about 2,000 miles from the coast of San Diego, the first round of parachutes are going to be is going to be put out. Communication should be restored by this time. This is 7:59, and they're going to be approaching the target zone. And as these parachutes are going to start to be deployed, this is what's going to slow them down from 24,000 miles per hour to just a mere 19. I can drive faster on just a main road on that. Taking a look, that's going to be at around 8:03 p.m. is when those chutes are going to deploy, and that, again, parachutes are going to slow the Orion capsule down to a mere 19 miles per hour as it is approaching the splashdown zone, again, off the coast of California, which is where that target zone is. And again, with this entire area, it could allow for ships in order to actually reach the Orion capsule at around maybe 2 hours at most. So they might be kind of rustled around by those waves, but again, it looks like the waves are going to be playing nicely out there off the coast of California. But unlike what we had here in Cape Canaveral, we could actually hear a sonic boom taking a look ahead. So once we were having liftoff happen on the coast of Cape Canaveral, areas 45 miles out from the launch pad, 39B, could hear the rumble of those boosters as this rocket was lifting off. But because this rocket is going to be coming in so fast, coming in hot, again, this is about 7 times faster than the speed of sound. This is crazy. So there is definitely going to be a lot of noise, especially on the SoCal coast. So a sonic boom can most likely be heard moving down the Baja Peninsula, San Diego, all the way up to Anaheim, California, including those surrounding islands. So that is how fast and how loud this launch is going to be as splashdown is occurring. So let's actually talk weather, because it was a beautiful evening when this crew lifted off from Cape Canaveral. So let's take a look of the weather that they are going to be coming home with, taking a look at San Diego, California. So it is 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time is when we're expecting this crew to splash down, and it's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time in California. 72 degrees, mostly clear skies, winds coming in from the west at 10 miles per hour. Garrett, things are looking fantastic along the Southern California coast. So this is just one of the things that gives me a little bit of a sigh of relief that I'm really hoping this crew is going to be coming home safely, mainly just because the weather's cooperating.
Yeah, that is one less thing to worry about, at least. So that is certainly good to see. Well, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, we appreciate you joining us and breaking that down for us as our special coverage continues.
Absolutely, and keep those questions coming. We would love to answer them live here on our stream and on air as well. Yeah, send those questions along. We're going to get ready to take a break right now, but we are going to be right back after this here on Fox Local, on Fox 35, Fox 51, also Fox 35 Plus. So keep it right here, and we'll be back with more coverage on the other side of this break. And going to be joined by a special guest as well, former NASA Chief of Staff, and someone who has taken part in some of these recoveries as well. So keep it right here.
Welcome back into our Fox 35 News Plus special coverage this evening. We appreciate you joining us and spending your Friday evening with us as we continue to watch together a historic night awaiting the return of the Artemis II mission. Give you a live look right now outside that Orion capsule as it gets ready to separate the crew module and the service module, getting ready to separate from each other before a couple of other things, and then the crew will re-enter Earth's atmosphere. Pleased to be joined this evening as well by Bale Dalton, former NASA Chief of Staff, actually, joining us live now via Zoom. And Bale, we really appreciate you joining us. We're watching these images. We're listening to what the crew is having to say. And I would imagine for you especially, this is an evening that brings up a lot of thoughts and emotions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. First of all, Garrett, it's great. It's great to be back with you, especially on such a auspicious day here for NASA and this crew. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, Jeremy Hansen, just showing us not just through their own human bravery, but the ability to have been patient and have worked together for this mission, then have launched 10 days ago and bring it home. Also, this area off the coast of San Diego is near and dear to my heart. I was a commanding officer of a helicopter squadron outside of Naval Air Station North Island and landed on ships like the John P. Murtha that's out there, the landing ship dock that's going to help recover the Orion craft, and flew the helicopters, or the same type of helicopters, that will be there monitoring the progress. So it's an exciting day, as you said, especially exciting for me as someone who's gotten to see both parts of this cool partnership that's happening this afternoon.
We are just about a minute away from separation of the Orion crew and service module. And Bale, just briefly before we listen in to some of that and some of those communications, I want to get your thoughts on what is this like from the inside. At NASA, at Mission Control, on board the ship right now. What is the scene? What's going on?
Yeah, well, of course, I haven't been in space, so we'll have to ask the crew what it was like inside the capsule, and I'm sure they'll be happy to share after their safe arrival. But I'll tell you, in launch control, I mean, people are, I was in launch control for the Artemis I launch, and I tell you what, there's no better group of dedicated personnel that are focused on their monitors, that are focused on their readings, and are focused on making sure that Orion, this Orion capsule named Integrity by its crew, is right on parameters to come through. As Senator Nelson, as our administrator, used to say, we don't do things until we are ready. We've been ready for this. These console operators are ready. The sailors out there on the John P. Murtha are ready. And I know this crew is ready to come home and celebrate.
All right, let's give you a live look right now at the Orion capsule separation about to get underway, and then a crew module raise burn. Just a few minutes after that, we're going to see the thrusters being fired to tilt this capsule up to the essentially the correct angle to make sure it's at that right configuration for re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. So certainly a big moment, a big milestone coming up. And when it comes to these moments, these are, like we said, Bale, milestones that I'm sure kind of loom large on those long lists of checklists for everyone at NASA.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've ever been a part of the, and there it goes right there, right on time, just past 7:33
crew module, service module separation.
Listen in.
And a great view, albeit momentarily.
Houston, good step on board.
Houston copies and concurs.
The European service module now separated from Integrity, a job well done.
Integrity, no action for the 4 CDH cautions. Those are SM related, not applicable.
Integrity.
So at this point, Bale, we still have communications. We know at some point those are going to go out. So I would imagine, there's a 6-minute period there where communications are going to be blacked out upon re-entry. Is that different at all when there's that communications blackout at that point, or is that no big deal at this point after they went 40 minutes without comms with NASA just a few days ago?
Well, it's never no big deal to be out of communications. You like that tether back to your friends and teammates that are helping take care of things back on Earth. But I joked earlier when they were on the other side of the moon, I said, we all might be a little jealous to have, between 30 and 45 minutes of comms blackout from Earth and be able to take a deep breath here with some of what we've got going on in the world today. But yeah, it will be a time of high anxiety, no matter whether things are going to plan or not. Because anytime that you've lost contact, whether it's planned or not, you find yourself holding your breath rather than breathing normally. And, another incredible thing that this crew is going to experience, so this will be the fastest crewed re-entry into the atmosphere that's ever been conducted. So at one point in time, these guys will be going Mach 32, which is 24,000 miles per hour or over 7 miles a second. So these guys have set records already for being the furthest humans out in space, and they're about to set another record tonight as they come back to Earth.
All right, Bill, you mentioned flying a helicopter for one of these missions at one point, picking up these astronauts. And as I understand it, you picked up one of the crew members on this very mission before.
Yeah, that's right. So after Crew Demo 2, when Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley successfully tested the Dragon module, taking astronauts from Earth up to the International Space Station, the next mission was a long-duration mission and called Crew 1. And a member of that crew was Victor Glover. And I happened to be with a company at the time, Air Center Helicopters, that was chosen to go pick up cargo and to pick up the astronauts from the recovery ship. And so Vic Glover and I met for the first time as I picked him up after a long duration stay on the International Space Station as he was figuring out how gravity works again.
That's a pretty cool connection to have with the crew. What are those moments like when those astronauts are just getting back?
Yeah, it's as you'll see again tonight, they will immediately go through some, medical checkouts. The John P. Murtha, the Navy ship that's there, LPD 26, has got lots of facilities on board. And of course, NASA has brought their own specialists there. So, the capsule will come into the wet dock there, and which is also a pretty incredible sight. They'll extract the astronauts and take care of them, and then the Navy helicopters will take them ashore someplace in San Diego. They will meet one of the NASA jets that will take them back to Johnson, where they have all of the facilities that are specific for what they need to do to make sure the astronauts are okay after this 10-day flight. So you mentioned checklists. There's lots of checklists. These checklists are long, but it's a real treat to be in mission control and start checking those things off as each of the parameters are met.
And we're getting a live look right now inside mission control and hearing some of the comms here. Let's go ahead and listen in for a minute.
On the vehicle during entry interface.
Integrity Houston, a heads up about comm coverage. When you perform the 180 roll, for the first minute or so in that attitude, we expect about a minute LOS.
We copy.
Yeah, I can only imagine what they're going through right now, kind of running through this list of things. Bill, I want to get your take on this because this is a question we get a lot. Obviously a lot of things going on in the world right now, and I think some people say, why does this matter? Why are we spending money on space? What in the grand scheme of things? Why are we bothering going to the moon, sending this operation that went off? What do you tell people, not just about the importance of the Artemis II mission, but about maybe what it represents or some of those missions in the future as well? How do you respond? I'm sure that's a question you hear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Garrett, that's one of the reasons why I'm running for Congress here in Central Florida is because we can think aspirationally again if we will take care of what's right in front of us with this cost of living emergency. But I tell you what, I was actually on the trail. I spoke to a father who had brought his 8-year-old daughter to the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center. And just in one visit, she was filled with such awe and inspiration that she's dedicated herself now to become an aeronautical engineer. America is the place for research, development, and technology. Our young people need to be inspired. And even beyond the intangible benefits of inspiration, the science and research that is done by NASA, I think it is more than a good investment when you think of less than 0.5% of our entire national budget is spent on NASA. And if you look at some of the economics reports, $1 invested in NASA is worth between $3 and $7 return to our GDP. So NASA is a place that creates jobs. NASA is a place that creates inspiration and answers those questions that we don't even know yet how to ask. And NASA's success is Florida's success and is America's success.
Well, Bill Dalton, we really appreciate your time. It's been good chatting with you tonight. I'm sure we will talk again in the future as well. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us and joining us on this special night.
Absolutely, Garrett. Thanks so much for having me, and go Artemis.
All right, Bill, thanks. Before we go to break here, I want to go ahead and just listen in again briefly to see these communications right now between Mission Control and the Integrity capsule. Nothing at the moment, but 25 minutes and counting till splashdown. We're going to take another quick break here on our special continuing coverage, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus and our special coverage. This is a live look outside the window of the Orion capsule. Let's go ahead and listen in to NASA's live coverage right now, hearing some communications between Mission Control and also the crew capsule. You can see
the reflection of one of the crew members in the window.
Now let's go ahead and
Out in
listen
the
in.
Pacific, the weather conditions remain go. Just a few clouds, some scattered clouds. Winds at 10 knots. Wave heights just about 4 feet. A gentle day in the Pacific for the homecoming of Integrity's astronauts.
Integrity back in EI attitude.
We see the same on board, Jackie. Houston, purge is complete. Crew and vehicle are configured for entry.
Houston copies.
And we're in step 37, transferring nav state to BFS. And Houston, in instruction 509, we are not below 0.2.
Integrity, no action required.
Integrity.
Now 6 minutes away from entry interface. We will hit the first traces of Earth's atmosphere at an altitude of 400,000 feet, traveling about 34,882 feet per second. Range to splashdown at that point will be 1,701 nautical miles. And once again, just a reminder, some 24 seconds after entry interface, we do expect to lose communications with the vehicle and the crew during a 6-minute blackout period when a plasma shield will build up around the spacecraft due to the ionization, due to heating effects. And Flight Dynamics has just confirmed we will have a blackout period of exactly 6 minutes in duration. And once again, that's due to the fact that a plasma buildup around the vehicle will prevent communications and data, so we will not be able to talk to the crew members at that time, nor will we receive data here in the flight control room.
Houston, everything's looking good on board. Just confirm no pre-EI downloads.
Houston concurs.
That blackout period to begin at 6:53 and 54 seconds p.m. Central Time, and again will last about 6 minutes in duration. We're 4 minutes away from entry interface. This view from Integrity as it crosses from southwest to northeast across the Pacific Ocean, 3 minutes from entry interface. "16.5 minutes till splashdown." The USS John P. Murtha and the recovery team is on station and in position, as are the airborne imagery assets that we hope to receive imagery from as Artemis enters the Earth's atmosphere and through parachute deployment. All of Integrity's systems are in great shape. The crew is ready to complete its mission just 15.5 minutes from now. All of the activities today have gone off in perfect fashion. No issues with the vehicle, no issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go. Coming up on 1 minute until entry interface. Mark 1 minute until entry interface. 1 minute, 20 seconds until the expected start of our 6-minute blackout.
Integrity, 1 minute to a 6-minute blackout.
Integrity.
Ten seconds till entry interface. And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're at 400,000 feet, traveling 34,800 feet per second. Time to splash down, 13 minutes, 10 seconds. And as predicted, we've entered our communications blackout. This will be a 6-minute blackout period. No voice, no data from the crew. We're 30 seconds away from the anticipated point of peak heating on the vehicle, where temperatures will rise to about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the true test of our trajectory. And from the G5 aircraft in the vicinity of the splashdown zone, this view of Integrity. So that pinpoint of light shows the vehicle as it enters the period of peak heating in the Earth's atmosphere, the first tug of gravity being felt by Integrity's astronauts since their launch back on April 1st. 4.5 minutes until the end of the blackout period. Time to splashdown, 11 minutes, 33 seconds.
"11 minutes to splashdown, and the communications blackout continues right
The
now.
landing and support officer reports that the P3 has acquisition on integrity. Three and a half minutes left in this blackout period. This is a visualization of the plasma buildup around the spacecraft and the repelling of that heat on Integrity's heat shield. Flight Dynamics reports that airborne assets in the vicinity of the splashdown zone do have a visual on Integrity. Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in our blackout period. Time to splashdown, 9 minutes, 35 seconds. Multiple airborne assets as part of the recovery team all have visuals on Integrity. And the WB-57 flying in the splashdown zone also has a visual. And the Navy helos also have visuals. We're still in the blackout period. Still do not have communications from the crew. We're standing by for communications from the crew. We should be out of the blackout period less than a minute from now. We are now processing data from Integrity. Landing and support officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone. Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect. We're getting intermittent views of integrity. Still waiting to establish voice communication.
Integrity, Houston, comm check, post-blackout.
Houston, Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Your trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
Guidance looks good.
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, Integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home. Passing 100,000 feet now. Range to splashdown 19 nautical miles.
Integrity, impact to the camera controller fail is no Cab 1 views of the chutes.
Integrity.
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of Integrity, time to splashdown 4.5 minutes. And a view of Integrity from the WB-57. We're at 50,000 feet. The pyros are armed for forward bay cover jettison. And there go the first series of parachutes, and we're on drogues.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
2 good drogue chutes. Next up.
We copy, we see them.
Next up, the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Perfect descent rate according to flight dynamics.
Good rates on 2 drogues.
We see the same on board.
Passing through 10,000 feet, still on drogues. Main chute deploy. We're at 5,000 feet. Search and recovery beacon has been activated on Integrity. And we have 3 good main chutes. Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes. Integrity, cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for Integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board. Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds. Integrity about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon. Passing through 1,000 feet.
Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth. And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts. The unofficial splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you. That would put the end of the mission at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 35 seconds. And we're configuring for very low data rate. Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. How else?
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post-landing.
Perfect communications established.
A journey. We are stable 1, 4 green crew members.
Houston copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
Nearly 700,000 miles traveled, and the Artemis II crew back on Earth. We just heard the first communications from those astronauts confirming they are doing well, that everything has gone according to plan. We heard a textbook re-entry and splashdown, everything looking good right now that they are back on Earth. Pleased to be joined in our streaming studio this evening now, Dr. Greg Autry, UCF Associate Provost for Space Commercialization and Strategy, joining me live here. And Dr. Autry, I first just want to get your reaction. Obviously, we can now breathe again after watching that splashdown, that re-entry, and everything go according to plan.
Happy, happy, happy. Could not have done better. There looks like they were within 1 mile in 1 minute after, as you said, going 700,000 miles in 10 days. That's just amazing.
Quite a journey. We are awaiting.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members, meaning they're all in excellent shape.
Everyone in excellent shape there, as we heard the communications. If you are joining us live right now on WOFL, we are going to send you back out to UFL football coverage, but our special continuing coverage of the splashdown of Artemis II continues on Fox 35 Plus. And on our digital platforms as well. So keep it right here for more. If you're watching on WOFL, stay tuned for UFL football. give you live looks courtesy of NASA. We are taking a look at the Artemis II crew inside that Orion capsule, the crew module that has those 4 astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen inside. They are all doing well. We hear from Commander Reed Wiseman after communications were confirmed after splashdown at 8:07. We are now less than an hour away from the extraction of that crew from that capsule, which everything went textbook, as we heard from NASA officials. Continuing our live streaming coverage and special coverage here on Fox 35 Plus as well. We've got Dr. Greg Autry from UCF joining us live now. And Dr. Autry, I know we were kind of all watching that together with bated breath, but really things could not have gone better.
Yeah. The critics are going to have to shut up for now. America's going forward, and we're back in the exploration business in a big way.
What do you make of this? You know, there were questions about the heat shield. We know they changed the trajectory to account for that, and you know, by all accounts, everything you know, it went as expected given those changes.
Yeah, you know, we do testing for a reason, and one of the reasons Artemis 1 mission was done was to look at the heat shield along with everything else in the system. There was a small anomaly there. I can guarantee you a lot of teams looked at it. When I was the nominee to be the Chief Financial Officer of NASA last year, I got briefed on this over and over and over and dug into it myself. And everybody was confident on the inside that we were going in the right direction, and this was a reasonable risk window, and this bears it out. Now, they will be making some changes to the way the heat shield material is applied in the next launches, which will eliminate any concerns, but everything's good.
And so what are we watching now? What's going to be going on right now while that crew is inside and waiting for extraction?
Well, they're going to float out there for an hour, potentially 2 at the outside while the rescue boats come out. I heard there were 4-foot seas. I hope nobody's getting seasick, basically. But they're going to haul them out onto those rafts and then use helicopters to lift them off the rafts and take them back to the USS Martha. So that, I assume, will go according to plan. And the worst thing that can happen is a little nausea.
Right. Well, we heard Reed Wiseman say 4 green astronauts, and NASA officials said that that's not referring to the way they're feeling right now, but to how they're doing. Could certainly imagine what you know, if they've made it this far through those speeds that they traveled around the moon and now through re-entry, this is probably nothing for them.
Probably nothing. I'm sure they and their families can't be happier, and I don't think anybody could be prouder of them than I am, and America should be.
Yeah, what does this mean? Dr. Autry, put this in perspective for us, for everything to have gone successfully with this now, essentially putting a bow on what has been a historic mission, and a mission that really seems like it has captivated the country in a lot of ways, and seems like positive signs for the future moon missions and beyond.
Yeah, I think it's been unifying. And you know, honestly, before the mission launched, there were a lot of people who were a little bit skeptical, didn't think the public was on board as much, but I just watched as the launch occurred and the mission to the moon occurred and the photos started coming back, the buildup of excitement was amazing. And people that I know that aren't space people at all are texting me constantly, asking for updates on what's happening. So I'm really excited about the energy.
And Dr. Autry, as well, you know, that has to be encouraging because we know that there are, you know, there is so much more planned for these, and we know that this is huge for our area here.
Absolutely. I had the honor of sitting on the 2016 presidential transition team at NASA and being one of 8 people that reached the conclusion that we should return to the moon with the hardware that we had on hand. I wasn't living in Florida at the time, but that was good news for Florida. It's even better news for Florida that the new NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman, is increasing the cadence of launches in order to keep our expertise at running these systems at a peak.
What, any idea what that impact would have felt like for those astronauts inside there?
Yeah, they could have been going as fast as 20 miles an hour when they splashed, so that's a good jolt. Now, obviously, they're in seats that are designed for that, and they had a heck of a jolt on launch, but it's not as bad as the Soyuz, where it hits the Kazakhstan desert and then rolls over a couple of times, so it's not as smooth as the shuttle, though.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, I'm curious. We had someone ask us, because we've had some questions that coming in throughout the day, and someone was asking us what feels stronger to the astronauts, the thrust they're getting during launch, or those forces they're feeling when they're traveling really fast on re-entry. What would your take be on that?
That's a good question. I think that one jolt of hitting the water is kind of like a minor car accident, right? So that's probably the biggest momentary jolt, but that thrust for acceleration lasts, a good long time, and I bet that is both the thrill and the terror of the ride.
What about from a science perspective? Just the the work that it took to do this mission, to correct some of the previous issues that we've seen, and also to send humans where no one has been before. That's a feat.
Oh, it absolutely is. We should be proud of it. A lot of people have pointed out we did this 50 years ago and we don't have anything to prove. But had we not succeeded in doing this, certainly our competitors would have pointed it out. So I'm very proud of it.
All right. Well, we are seeing these boats coming out to them right now.
Yeah, it looks like they were right where they needed to be. So this could be a lot quicker than the hour window, maybe.
And so it looks like they're not going right up to it. They're kind of keeping their distance here right now.
Yeah, they're confirming everything's ready on the inside before they move in, and then they'll open the hatch and pull them out. But we need to make sure that the astronauts are suited up and ready to go.
All right. And I believe we're going to check in now as well with Fox 35's Marlisa Goldsmith and Fox 35's Luann Sorrell joining us live now from Studio A, and just watching this splashdown with us as well. And Luann and Marlisa, what a moment.
It was so incredible to see. It actually gave you chills. We were like hardly breathing out here, just like, please let it splash down, okay? Please let everything go smoothly, and it did.
It did. I know all of us, it's Luann, myself, and meteorologist Laurel Blanchard here in the studio, and we all have different streams going at the same time. It's been really exciting, and everyone has been saying, we can take a moment to breathe.
Finally breathing a sigh of relief. It was a really stressful situation. As you know, Garrett, this is like the most treacherous part of the journey for an astronaut is coming back, going through the Earth's atmosphere. Temperatures are around 5,000 degrees. So yeah, everyone is just breathing a sigh of relief. We're watching the feed now of them, in the Orion capsule, bobbing in the water. Hopefully they're not getting too seasick out there. We also see the boats have arrived, so that's good news. Hopefully they'll be getting out of the capsule very soon.
Yeah, which a lot of people are waiting for. Obviously, this mission from liftoff to splashdown, NASA's rounded it up to about 10 days, but I found the calculations. This lasted 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 35 seconds to the T that we have been waiting for this. And during their journey, it's been incredible to watch from down here on Earth, all the pictures. And I found an interesting article, Luann and Garrett, earlier talking about the camera that the astronauts took up there to take the pictures. This is a camera from 2016. So it's interesting. We have advanced so far when it comes to technology, but they used a 2016 camera to get those incredible images and bring back so much knowledge and research that'll be used in the years to come. So I'm excited to hear about that part.
Yeah, the pictures were pretty amazing too. I mean, we got to see parts of the dark side of the moon that no human eyes have ever seen before. So that was pretty incredible. I think a little unnerving was that 6 minutes of silence. We were sitting here watching, when they were splashing down, and it was like you didn't hear from them or see their camera for 6 minutes. So you don't know if they're okay. You don't know if the heat shield held up. But yeah, Garrett, we are very excited. Everything went smoothly. The blast off was great. The splashdown was great. I think now we can have an arty party. What do you say?
I think so too. I know that they're going to be so excited. All of their family. I mean, I heard them mention in the NASA feed that they may have the option to kind of rest for a second, gather themselves at a hotel. But I have a feeling none of these astronauts will take take that option.
No.
I would.
Yeah,
but they're not.
You'd be like, let me get a little breather here for a minute. Yeah, but no, I mean, they're going to be so excited to see their family members. I don't see them waiting either. I mean, their families had to be so stressed out about this whole mission because, you know, this is historic. It's never been done before. So I have a feeling they're going to go back, like you said, to Johnson Space Center, and they're going to have a lot of smiles, hugs, embraces from all the family there.
Oh, yes. I'm sure they cannot wait to share stories. I probably wouldn't even be sleeping, honestly, and just the stories that you have to tell and all the families. And I can't help but to continue to think about the astronaut with the two daughters who lost his wife, and they named the crater after her.
Yeah,
and
Reed
just thinking
Wiseman's
of
wife.
the difficult conversation he had with them before leaving for the mission, and to be able to hug them again, and all the astronauts hugging their family and friends again.
They said he did talk to his daughters about, you know, what would happen if he didn't make it home. But he's home, Garrett. We have nothing to worry about anymore.
Yeah, good news for sure. And we're hearing live right now as well from NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman speaking. So let's go ahead and listen in live to this.
The sailors that are here, the NASA teams, I mean, this is a joint effort that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, to get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
Yeah, and this is not just an accomplishment for NASA. This is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis II crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So, yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once-in-a-lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once-in-a-lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
Yeah, are we going to build on the momentum for Artemis III? I mean, it's just around the corner.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's, you know, part of me too. Like, I can't wait to get the crew off of Integrity right now, but also getting Integrity back on this ship so we can start taking a look at it, because all that data is so precious to us right now. I mean, we are going to definitely want to take a good look at the thermal protection system. We're going to want to download all the data they couldn't transmit back to us and use that to inform Artemis III. But we're already making progress, right? You had SRB segments already showing up at KSC. Core stage for Artemis III is rolling out on April 20th. We're getting Mobile Launcher 1 back in vehicle assembly building. So yes, there is a lot to celebrate right now on a mission well accomplished for Artemis II, and at the same time, we got to start getting ready for 3.
Amazing. And last question, you know, for people who joined us for all 10 days to see what we can accomplish together with our international partners, what do you think about the fact that we're going to keep doing this more and more and more?
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, yes, it's the contributions, like the best and brightest across the NASA workforce from across the country, our industry partners, our international partners. We had a Canadian Space Agency astronaut on board in Jeremy. We had the European Service Module. And you think in the days leading up to this launch, I mean, 48 hours prior to launching Artemis II, I was meeting with the Italian Space Agency. We signed a memorandum of understanding to build a habitation module on the moon. I mean, you have countries, all of our allies and partners coming together saying, we are committed to this effort. We are returning to the moon. We're doing it to stay. We are building that enduring presence. We are going to master the skills on the surface of the moon so someday we can undertake missions to Mars. It's just an incredibly exciting time, and we're not going at it alone. We're bringing everybody along with us.
Absolutely. And speaking of everyone, one more time, we're going to ask the crew here, you guys ready to land on the moon? Awesome. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much, Administrator. Appreciate you being here. We're, of course, going to stay on to watch the crew get extracted from Orion, so stay tuned, and we'll see you back here shortly.
We heard briefly there from NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman speaking on the NASA feed. Before we go to break here on our special Fox 35 News Plus coverage of this, I just want to get your initial reaction to his thoughts and words about kind of where things go next.
Yeah, well, he's been a force of nature, and although he didn't launch the program, he's just given it new life. And I'm so excited about the clarity of vision, the dedication to the permanent sustainable presence on the moon. It's going to be huge for America, and as he mentioned, huge for humanity.
Well, we're getting ready to take another quick break here, but we'll be right back with more coverage as we're awaiting the retrieval of the crew from inside that capsule that has splashed down successfully in the Pacific Ocean, ready to welcome home those 4 astronauts here shortly. So keep it right here, and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus and our special continuing coverage this evening of the splashdown of Artemis II. You're seeing a couple of different angles there right now as that capsule bobs in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego this evening. It's just after 5:30 p.m. there. Things look fairly calm seas there, and we're awaiting any moment the retrieval of that crew from inside that module. I want to bring back in Fox 35's Esther Bauer, who is joining us live right now from Kennedy Space Center along Florida's Space Coast. And Esther, watching this, listening to the communications, and it sounds like everyone's in great spirits at this point.
Oh my gosh, Garrett, that was amazing to watch. Now, where we are here in Florida, we don't have the oceanfront views that you can see on this NASA feed, but there is a lot of pride right now here at KSC because this is where the historic mission started. And what I'm looking at right now is behind me. The Artemis patches are actually lit up right underneath the NASA meatball. And I think that every single worker here at KSC, they are just beaming with so much joy, so much pride, seeing this crew come back home safely. I can tell you, I was holding my breath, though, Garrett, you probably were too, for that 6 minutes where we couldn't hear anything. We were looking inside Johnson, and I'm sure you could hear an absolute pin drop, because that's the point where mission control cannot communicate with the astronauts. I was holding my breath, and then when you started seeing pictures of the capsule coming in, I was a little bit nervous. Those first pictures, it looked like some ping pong ball ricocheting around, but then it started to slow down. When you saw those chutes go out, that was absolutely incredible. And now it looks like they're just dealing with some problems with the satellite phone inside the capsule connecting with the rescue crews on the ground. But I think they're going to figure that one out pretty quickly because, Garrett, really this mission from literally liftoff to going around the far side of the moon, seeing parts of the moon that no human has ever seen before, it's been just small hiccups. We talked about how the toilet was having some problems in the capsule. Now we're seeing some problems with this satellite phone. But I mean, think about this historic mission, and we're talking about small things, small technological hiccups that NASA is going to investigate, figure out, hey, why did this break? How can we fix this? But the actual mission was smooth sailing from day one to now this, they said day 9 and 1 hour in, just incredible. And to hear all the miles, Garrett, that they've traveled, 694,000 miles, and then to be back home with us here on Earth. Garrett, what I cannot wait to see, though, is when they bring that front porch raft out, we open up that Orion capsule door and we actually see our crew. We've seen them for several days in space. They've been so gracious with their time, taking us along with them, sharing all their photos, speaking with media and people and students around the world while, you know, manning the spacecraft. I just can't wait to see them, though, and really to say thank you through our screens for everything that they've done. What really struck out to me, I know we just saw NASA's new admin speak. We've seen him several times throughout this journey, but on day 1, he made very clear he wasn't going to celebrate. There was going to be no point of yay until he saw the crew under parachute safely in the water. And even in that last time we just saw him on this feed, I saw more smiles peeking through. He said, I feel like childhood Jared is just so happy. I still can't believe what I just saw. And now to be in this new role as NASA's new admin, he definitely looked happier than we've seen him in the past few days, which I'm sure he hasn't been sleeping a lot. He's been pretty stressed out. He said his blood pressure has been up, so now he can take some deep breaths knowing that his crew is back home safe and sound on Earth. Just an incredible sight. I always think about how the astronauts are feeling, if they are happy to be home, if they're already missing the moon. There was a funny part when they were talking about, hey, you know, you're closer to the Earth now than the moon. And one of the astronauts said, well, I guess we have to turn around and head on back. So I'm sure they are feeling mixed emotions because of what they have seen, what they've done, what they've documented, the path forward in space that they've set. But it is just an amazing sight, and I am so happy. I think the entire world is so happy that they're back home safe. And specifically watching the NASA feed, something else that's caught my eyes is they have this live chat also going on. And there's all these different countries' flags that people are putting. I'm watching from here. I'm watching from Portugal, Brazil, Mexico. Literally, Garrett, the world has been watching. The world has followed along with this mission. And even right now, the world is still watching. I mean, the world can't wait to see the astronauts get on board this ship and get back to Houston. So what an amazing night. And so happy to see the crew back home safe.
Yeah, what a moment. There's no doubt about that. And Esther, you talked about the workers there at Kennedy Space Center and, across the country and in so many different places that have worked so hard on this mission. I know this is something you've been covering for a while now. And, here we are talking about the satellite phone and the issue with that, like you said, just something minor. But that's a testament to the hard work of those crews that you were talking about, because it has not always been smooth sailing to get this Artemis mission up. And now here we are, and everything did go smoothly from start to finish.
Absolutely. And I mean, really, NASA has been under fire since Artemis 1. We were just talking about it. These heat shields, the heat shields had problems. They had cracks. They had some situations happen that NASA wasn't thinking would happen. So they had to troubleshoot, and they were under fire. Is this safe? Are you putting the astronauts in danger, putting them on this capsule where the heat shield had problems? They had to really, take all of that sound that they were hearing from people questioning the safety of this mission and say, no, we've done the research, we've looked at the data, we have made sure this trajectory coming into Earth is going to be safe. And look, we're looking at the capsule right now. I can see the rescue boat is getting so close to this capsule, hoping we're soon going to see that front porch raft. Actually, this might be the raft coming up. But I mean, look, these heat shield tiles, they held. And what I loved hearing was personally the first time Mission Control was able to speak to the astronauts after that blackout zone. The astronauts, again, they sound so calm. They are so chill. Guys, they literally just came back to Earth on a fireball, and they are just answering questions like, everything's fine. Yes, we are, doing good. When they said all 4 astronauts are green, we were wondering if that meant maybe they were throwing up and they were having some kind of situation in space. But then they said, no, all this means is all 4 astronauts are doing great. They were in good health. You couldn't hear in their voice any problems. And again, keep in mind, literally, we're just in a fireball coming in at 25,000 miles per hour inside temperatures of 5,000 degrees. So just an incredible feat. And yes, I think everyone that has touched this mission from Artemis 1 now to Artemis 2, and quite frankly, now even talking about Artemis 3, NASA's new admin, Jared Isaacman, was literally just talking about Artemis 3. He keeps saying this is not a once-in-a-lifetime situation anymore where this generation can say, I saw people go around the moon. He says, no, we're going to the moon next year. That's the goal. We're trying to get the landers on the moon. We're trying to walk on the moon by 2028. So the fact that this mission is really just a stepping stone for not 50 years down the road, for literally next year, we're going to see a similar moon mission, but this time landing on the moon. It really shows NASA is not slowing down. They are just speeding up to the moon and eventually to Mars.
All right, Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate you joining us live from Kennedy Space Center this evening. It has certainly been a great night, and it's been fun covering this mission over the last 10 days. I'm sure you agree.
Oh my goodness, it's been so fun. And also, Garrett, I think for teams on the ground, the mission is just getting started. And what I mean is they have so much data. They have to dig into now all the science data, all the capsule data, all the spacecraft data. One of the researchers we spoke with said it'll take at least a year to go through everything that this mission will have captured. So, Garrett, I think you and I will be speaking about this mission for many times down the road.
I think you are right about that, Esther. Thank you. Let's go ahead and listen in here. We're seeing the boat really approach the capsule, the module in the water. So I want to go ahead and listen in for a minute here.
And received a more official touchdown time or splashdown time, as it were, of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Pacific Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
Awaiting retrieval of this crew, the Artemis II crew inside there. We're seeing the boat kind of go around, floating around. Dr. Autry, I want to bring you back in here. What is some of what we're seeing here? Why not just at this point go up there and pop that door open?
Yeah, one of the things is to make sure there's no hazardous gas emissions from the capsule, so you see them going around, and I think they've got some instruments out. In that case, the hydrazine propellant that the capsule uses for orientation is not something you want to be breathing in, and they don't want the astronauts exposed to that. They need to make sure the helicopter's in position because they don't want them in the boat too long. They need to make sure that the crew themselves are unbuckled and suited up properly and ready to go. And everybody's got a checklist, and it's not a rush. Good news is the water looks pretty flat. Doesn't look like 4-foot seas to me.
Yeah, you say not a rush. I guess at this point, everything is taken care of. There's really no reason to rush. We're going to step aside, take a quick break right now. We'll be back with much more coverage here. So keep it right here as we await the retrieval of the Artemis II crew. Welcome back in. Just moments away now from watching the hatch being opened. Let's go ahead and listen in to NASA's coverage here. Right, no communications right now, but Dr. Autry, it's been about, what, 40... Yes. Hold on, we're hearing something. All right, Dr. Autry, about 45 minutes or so since splashdown. They said Orion is powered down. They checked and confirmed no hazardous gases or anything, but it seems like things are moving along at a pretty good pace right now, potentially ahead of schedule, that they might be able to open this hatch.
Yeah, an hour is the nominal schedule, and it could go 2 hours, but I think they're going to be ahead of that. It looks to me like they're moving in to do the hatch opening, and that would just cap off a perfect day.
Yeah, really.
Helicopters clearly nearby,
and a number of boats in the area as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of contingencies. So yeah, there's more resources than you need by far. But
you'd rather have too much than not enough.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a big capsule. You know, they used to pick the whole capsule up and plop it on an aircraft carrier deck. In this case, we're going to take the crew out, and then the capsule will slide into the recovery ship.
Continuing to watch the initiation of the recovery of Integrity's astronauts. One by one, they'll be brought out of the spacecraft onto a large inflatable raft just a short time from now. In the meantime, we can go back to the USS John P. Murtha, where my colleague Megan Cruz is standing by to provide her situation report. Megan, can you hear us?
Hey, Rob. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Yeah, we're back here on the bow of the recovery ship, where there are still plenty of people peering out into the water. We are not very far from the action everyone is seeing on their screen now. The Orion spacecraft, Integrity, in the ocean, surrounded by a number of recovery boats. As Rob has been saying, in those recovery boats, NASA and Navy personnel specifically trained to get the astronauts out of Orion. Some of our wide shots, you can probably see that there are 6 boats out in the water. More than 40 people out in the water right now on those boats. First order of business is to set up the front porch and the stabilization collar. You might also hear it referred to as a stab collar. Basically just to make sure that Orion stays upright, doesn't sway in the water too much, again, to make it easier for recovery forces to get the astronauts out. Again, we splashed down in the Pacific Ocean just after 5 p.m. Pacific time here. It's a requirement by NASA to be able to get the crew out of Orion within 2 hours of splashdown. So doing great on time so far. Plenty of time. No rush either. I was speaking to NASA flight surgeon Rick Schuring earlier in this broadcast, and he said to me, no rush to get the crew out. Just want to make sure that they're feeling good. And whenever they're ready to take their step out of Orion and onto that large raft, the front porch, folks will be ready. As there are mission audio loops in Mission Control in Houston, there is a mission audio loop here on the ship, and it was just reported out that the side hatch is open. Side hatch of Integrity is open. You're getting these beautiful shots from our aerial assets. The ship itself, where I'm on, just 3,000 yards away. Again, plenty of people on the boat here, glued to the side closest to where they can see all this action. And again, with just 3,000 yards separating us, great views from the bow here. You can see now that side hatch is open. One of the Navy personnel is about to get inside there. In they go. In total, 4 will go into Orion. So it'll be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but the goal is to have a recovery personnel with each astronaut assessing them.
Dr. Autry, so the hatch is now open, the recovery personnel heading inside. What's going on inside that capsule right now, other than really cramped quarters with the recovery personnel in addition to the crew?
Yeah, well, there's a predetermined order of exit. I actually don't know what it is, but they're not flipping a coin in there. Everybody's making sure that they're in good condition and their suits are in correct order, and they're unstrapped, and you'll see them ungraciously slide out of there and into the raft, and hopefully nobody goes into the drink, but that's why they wear orange.
And you were just talking, Dr. Autry, on a personal level, how cool it is to see this moment after seeing Apollo splashdowns.
Yeah, I hate to date myself, but 50 years ago, I was sitting in front of a much lower resolution TV watching this almost same imagery, and it's a deja vu moment. It's so exciting to see us exploring again.
And so as we wait for the Navy and NASA personnel to get their assessment of the crew inside of Orion, why don't we toss it back to Rob for an update?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Here in Mission Control, Flight Director Rick Henfling and the entry team of flight controllers still on duty. The vehicle has been powered down for some time now. There are no hazardous gases emanating from Integrity. That, of course, allowed the recovery personnel to approach the vehicle and then open the hatch to begin the initial medical assessment of the crew, as you just indicated. Now we're standing by for the erection of that inflatable raft, the front porch, alongside of the vehicle. That will enable the crew to be extracted one by one onto the raft, have a moment or two to get their land legs back before they're hoisted into 2 hovering Navy helicopters, 2 crew members for each helicopter, for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. All of Integrity's systems operated flawlessly throughout the course of the approach to the Earth, the entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and all of the key milestones that followed in this high-speed return to Earth for Integrity. A mission that spanned more than 694,000 miles from the vehicle's launch from the Kennedy Space Center atop the Space Launch System back on April 1st.
So awaiting the our first look at some of these astronauts. They said they're getting ready to inflate what they're calling the front porch. What does that kind of allow them to do? Just kind of a landing spot, a place, literally just a place to step out onto?
Yeah, essentially, because they don't want to go in the water and fall between the rescue boat and the capsule. And I looked it up, and it's ladies first. We will see the mission specialist, Christina Koch, come out onto the porch when they get that ready.
And this is clearly a very intricate process that's going on here. Like we said, they're clearly not rushing. They've got procedures to kind of go through here, and this is something that takes some time.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that during America's second space flight, we lost the capsule in the water and nearly lost astronaut Gus Grissom, who fell into the water from the capsule, and his suit filled with water, and it was hard to get him out. So nobody wants to repeat any of that.
For hours to evaluate the systems on integrity and the condition of the crew before they would commit to flying to the moon.
Oh yeah, as you can just pointed out, Dr. Autry, even divers in the water.
Yeah. They inflate it, so they'll attach it and then inflate it.
And what are the orange spheres we're seeing on top?
Those keep those are, first of all, visibility for one thing, and secondly, they keep the capsule from inverting, so it can't go upside down in the water. If you had really high seas, those would keep bouncing it back upright.
We're also seeing some reaction this evening, including from Senator Rick Scott from Florida, tweeting this out just a few minutes ago. Thank God for a safe return. This crew has inspired a new generation to explore the final frontier. It's good to see NASA reaching for the stars again and using Florida's Space Coast as the starting point for giant leaps in American history. Ashley Moody tweeting as well, splashdown. Welcome home, Artemis II crew. Congratulations on a safe return and a historic mission. Americans are proud of your courage as we continue to push the limits of space exploration. Dr. Autry, I'm curious, we know for many of them this is not their first trip to space. Many of them have spent longer in space than they did over this 10-day journey, but what is it like reacclimating, even just for a 10-day journey through zero gravity and around the moon like that?
Yeah, it's exhausting. Returning to gravity, feeling your weight, and the first couple of days for astronauts a lot of the times are very difficult to adjusting to the microgravity. So the back and forth is a toll on the system, but I can imagine how excited they are right now. I'm sure that they'll get through the physical exhaustion.
With the side hatch of Orion having been opened to set the stage for the erection of the inflatable life raft known as the front porch, to be erected alongside the spacecraft for the extraction of the crew, Let's play for you an interview that my colleague Megan Cruz conducted on the USS John P. Murtha with Navy diver First Class David McMahon that explains how this process is unfolding.
Okay, Davey, so you and some of your team, one last look over of the stabilization collar, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is this stabilization collar?
This is what's going to stabilize the capsule out there in the ocean. We don't know how good the weather or the waves will be that day, so this will help prevent any unnecessary occurrences from happening, stabilizing the capsule and the astronauts inside.
So basically this is a float that will go around Orion. I'm assuming that what they're doing right now, these are the lines that will attach the collar onto Orion?
That is correct.
And so what are they doing here?
So we've got the lower line that will secure the inflation device before we inflate it. That gives us the go-ahead that it's secure in its place, and then we'll inflate it. And then once that is done, we'll undo all the carabiners and get this orange line on top tied in the same fashion. And then this will be secured to the capsule, and the astronauts can safely take their first steps out of the capsule onto the front porch.
Okay, and how long will it take them to set up the stabilization collar?
We should definitely be able to handle this in under 10 minutes.
Okay, wow. And then you just mentioned the front porch. So basically after they set up this stabilization collar, then they set up what's called the front porch here.
That's correct.
Okay, and what's the front porch?
Front porch is basically a bigger waiting room for the astronauts to sit in while we wait for the helicopters to show up and grab them.
Okay, so the medical team that was inside with the crew, they're going to help them out and onto the front porch?
That is correct.
And then what happens here?
We have higher trained medical personnel also on board the front porch that will give them lookovers and just make sure they're okay while we wait for the helicopters to show up.
Okay. How does it feel, I mean, your team, you, to be part of a mission that's returning astronauts from the moon in more than 50 years?
We all feel extremely honored to be a part of this, as well as a bigger mission for the Navy and joining up with NASA to do great things.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you and your team are ready?
Yes, very ready.
Cool. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Once again, the recovery operations are continuing out in the Pacific. We shortly should see that life raft, the front porch, erected alongside the side hatch of the vehicle. A number of flight controllers have come into the flight control room to receive congratulations from Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling. But we're going to stick with our operations out in the Pacific as we await the extraction of the 4 crew members who are reported to be in excellent condition. Again, while we stand by for that front porch to be erected alongside of the side hatch of the vehicle, let's go back to the USS John P. Murtha and Megan Cruz. Megan?
Hey, Rob. Pausing now to listen to some internal audio loops. Again, the operations team here on the ship communicating with everyone out on the water. It seems like currents are hindering them a little bit from unfurling and inflating the stabilization collar as well as the front porch. But again, the requirement to get the crew out within 2 hours of splashdown, plenty of time. So no concerns just yet. But as calm as the water looks, yeah, it looks like it's hindering the teams just a tad. You can see in some of our shots that side hatch still open. Again, inside there are now 8 people inside. 4 divers, Navy divers, all with medical training, each assigned to an astronaut each. Making sure that they're comfortable, feeling good. As you've heard us say in the broadcast, they expect a little bit of discomfort. Again, these astronauts just traveled back to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour, a nearly 695,000-mile journey around the moon. If you think you get carsick. Again, 6 boats out there, lots of gear with them, just in case, right? As we said, the crew reported feeling great. But again, all those folks out there in case they weren't, right? NASA is all about making sure we think about every situation that can happen. And so, of course, wanted to be ready in case any of our astronauts needed more medical attention while out there in the water. You see now teams, again, trying to set up the stabilization collar and front porch for the crew to get out of Orion. They need both, right? The stabilization collar will keep Orion from swaying as you see it is doing now. And then they will connect to the front porch to the stabilization collar so that the crew can take 2 steps and they will be in the front porch. Not a lot of chatter on the mission audio loops. That's a good thing. Again, things proceeding pretty nominally, even if they're fighting some currents out there on the Pacific Ocean. Again, the goal, setting up the stabilization collar and the front porch so that the crew can rest comfortably in the front porch, get placed into harnesses so that 2 helicopters can lift them off the front porch and onto the USS John Murtha here. The helicopters are going to take turns picking up an astronaut. So again, Helo 1 and Helo 2. Okay, and the recovery team here on the ship just got a report from the undersea medical officer who is inside the capsule with the crew. He is reporting all 4 members are green. All of our 4 astronauts, Reed, Victor, Christina, Jeremy, green, meaning they are feeling great, not the complexion of their skin. They are feeling great, happy to be home, and ready to be extracted as soon as possible. And so, as I was saying, we have 2 helicopters circling the activity you're seeing on the water right now. Each will take turns picking up an astronaut. So Helo 1 will come on in, hover above the front porch, about 40 feet above the front porch. A Navy recovery specialist will be hoisted down into the front porch.
The restricted maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
We'll connect to the first astronaut, which we're expecting to be Christina. And then Helo 2 comes around, picks up Jeremy, while Helo 1 stays above head. And then Helo 1 will come back in for another astronaut, and then Helo 2 for the last astronaut, and then back to the flight deck here on the recovery ship. was talking to Assistant Artemis Recovery Director Paul Sierpinski. He said helos are a much quicker, safer way to get on board. They did actually consider boats, but then if you think about it, longer time, the crew would have to move through more of the ship. This way the helos will give a more direct, quicker route to the medical bay for our 4 astronauts. Get into the water here shortly and inflate that as well. Again, more than 40 people out in the water right now. And those Navy and NASA personnel have been in the water for now about 4 hours. The reason why they had to get out so early is just to stage everything. And actually here on the ship, when there are flight operations happening, you can't have anything else, right? Just because the flight deck can be a dangerous place, so they just want to focus on planes coming and going from the ship, so that's why they wanted to get the boats in the water to make sure that they have all the time they needed for the flight ops. And then the same crew here out in the water, they will stay out in the water for a number of hours after we recover the crew and get them back on the ship, because then they have to recover Orion. All right, that stabilization collar looking good around Orion. We're now seeing some recovery personnel getting on to that collar. Again, they need to further attach it to Orion to make sure that it can really prop up the spacecraft. It's basically lifting it up off of the water just a tad. Again, so it's not so it doesn't sway so much in the water there. And now that front porch looks like it's nearly fully inflated as well. You can see a much larger surface area. So once the crew get out of Orion, they can stretch their legs a little bit on this front porch, get some fresh air. And enjoy this beautiful day here on their home planet. It appears teams now are about to connect the front porch to the stabilization collar. And at that point, when both are secure, we should soon see astronauts come out of Orion. All these views you see also being fed to the Landing Force Operations Center here on the ship. Of course, it is very important for our recovery teams leading the mission to have all the views that you're seeing as well. Again, listening to their communication loop here on the ship. Very quiet, which is a good thing. It means things are going pretty nominally, meaning as expected. Again, all this activity happening just 3,000 yards away from the ship. So that means this will be a very quick flight back on the helicopters for the crew. 2-3 minutes, and then we'll be back here on the ship. Okay, saw a thumbs up from one of the personnel on the front porch. It looks like they are now getting ready to deploy what they call the Air Rescue Vest, ARV. And so this is the harness that each crew member will get into in order to be hoisted into the helicopters. Again, those helicopters hovering just about 40 feet above the front porch when they're ready to pick up each crew member.
This is Mission Control Houston. Behind me, a fairly raucous scene as hundreds of flight controllers have poured into the flight control room here. This is reminiscent of the scene after the final shuttle mission of STS-135, although that was the end of a program. This is only the beginning of a program with the textbook splashdown of Integrity and its 4 astronauts. We're standing by for the crew to be extracted from the spacecraft. Entry Flight Director Rick Henfling invited all of these flight controllers who have contributed to this mission to enter the flight control room, to have an opportunity to receive well wishes and to share the mutual glow that exists in the wake of a textbook mission for Integrity. On the front screen here in Mission Control, a sign that says, "Welcome home, Integrity, taking humanity back to the moon, going further, and returning safely to Earth." So all of that jubilation, part of the post-splashdown activities, even as we await the crew being extracted from the vehicle to be hoisted onto Navy helicopters for the trip back to the USS John P. Murtha.
What a scene, Dr. Autry, that we just saw in Mission Control as well for so many of those folks who have put so much work into this mission.
Yeah, absolutely. They're obviously thrilled that the astronauts are safe. And look, I saw an orange suit. I think we just got somebody out of that capsule.
Jubilation here in the flight control room. The first crew member is out of integrity. We are expecting the other crew members momentarily to be extracted.
Good.
Welcome into our Artemis II coverage. We are watching together a historic moment tonight as the first crew member of Artemis II has been extracted. Now the second crew member coming out. Let's go ahead and listen and watch together here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Two crew members out, 2 to go.
Garrett Weimer here along with Dr. Greg Autry, UCF Associate Provost for Space Commercialization and Strategy. And Dr. Autry, we're watching 2 crew members have already come out, still 2 more to go. It's been an intricate process over the last little bit as we've watched these divers and others get ready for this moment.
It's interesting to think that they've flown on a rocket, sailed on parachutes. They're going to be on a boat, picked up by a helicopter, on a ship, and then they'll fly home on a plane. So there's every means of transportation except rail, I think, involved here.
Probably the easiest part of their journey at this point, too.
Absolutely. All right, looks like we've got 3 of them out. Only Commander Wiseman is staying in his ship until the end, per tradition.
And now standing by for the commander, Reed Wiseman, who will be last out of his ship. Bobbing in the Pacific under almost ideal conditions, Integrity spanned 694,000 miles during its journey from launch to splashdown. And we now have Reed Wiseman out of the vehicle, all 4 crew members now out of Integrity. Once again, all 4 crew members now on the front porch.
All 4 crew members out on the raft in the Pacific Ocean. If you're watching us on Fox 35, we're going to go ahead and send you back to UFL football. If you are watching us on WRBW and on Fox Local, we're going to continue a little bit longer. So thanks for joining us. So we are continuing to watch this incredible images on this historic night here at Fox 35 as we're watching the arrival of the Artemis II crew that has been on a journey of nearly 700,000 miles. Let's listen into this message here.
The mission is over, but the melody lingers on as jubilation continues here in the flight control room. We should be expecting NASA's Associate Administrator, Amit Kshatriya, to be joining us shortly for a short interview while the recovery operations continue out in the Pacific.
So we're expecting to hear from the Associate Administrator there in Mission Control there shortly. Dr. Autry, just to sum up for us here before we let you go, what this night means and what this 10-day span has meant for not just this mission, but for the greater mission of to the moon, to Mars, to beyond.
Yeah. From beginning to end, every single component of this mission went perfectly and on schedule and on time, and that is a refreshing revelation. I have to think Jared Isaacman is proud of what his team has done, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But America is moving forward to the moon and someday to Mars.
Well, Dr. Greg Autry, we appreciate your time. Been a pleasure having you as part of our coverage today.
Thank you. It was a fun conversation.
And we're going to continue listening in as well here on our streaming platforms and on WRBW as we await the helicopter to take these crew members to the ship. So let's go ahead and listen back in. You can see the raft tossing in the seas a little bit there. Again, this is in the Pacific Ocean, not too far off the coast of San Diego.
Mission Control Houston here in the Artemis Flight Control Room. A number of flight controllers basking in the glory of the successful end of this mission that carried 4 astronauts around the moon on a lunar flyby and the first test flight of Orion with crew members on board. Splashdown occurring an hour and 32 minutes ago after a flawless descent back into the Earth's atmosphere for the vehicle. Its 4 crew members in good shape, simply enjoying
4 crew members in good shape, and that is the great news tonight out of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. If you are watching us live right now on WRBW, we're going to go ahead and send you back to your regular programming. If you're watching on our digital platforms, that's YouTube, Facebook, Fox Local, we're going to keep streaming. We will also have the Post-splashdown news conference coming up shortly from NASA as well. So again, if you've been watching on WRBW on Fox 35 Plus, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and get you back to a regular programming as our coverage continues on Fox Local.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're about an hour and 34 minutes since the textbook splashdown of integrity in the Pacific to bring home our astronauts. And with us now is Amit Kshatriya, the NASA Associate Administrator. Amit, a little bit of history made tonight, a little bit of history made over the past few weeks. Your thoughts as this team here basks in the glow of what they just accomplished?
Yeah, Rob, we're here in the control center, and it's kind of overrun with jubilant folks from the Mission Control Houston, as well as engineering, and folks that just want to be here, part of it, as we watch our crew get extracted from the vehicle. And, you know, my thought is always, always, always about these teams, the team that's in the water right now, pulling the crew out, the team here in Houston that worked so hard over the last 10 days, no sleep to get this done. You know, we still have some work to do to get the crew to the med bay here on the ship. They all look great coming out, so hopefully that won't be too long. You know, I think we saw the administrator on the boat too, giving his thanks to the Navy team on the Mirtha, which they're just an incredible group of sailors. I was able to visit with them a couple weeks ago. And then if you pull it all the way back to the workers and the folks that joined the rocket at Michoud, that made the heat shield tiles that held together tonight, that stacked the vehicle in Florida, that integrated the vehicle in Denver, that fired the engines in Stennis, that fired the boosters in Promontory. I mean, this is the entire team, coming together and being tested by the environment that this machine went through, and they did it right. The work was good. They did it right.
You've said in a number of briefings, of course, and in other forums that this is just the first step. The cadence has to step up, as the administrator has indicated. Now, it's a little early for the full report card on how Integrity did, but did this mission ultimately, from your eyes view, exceed expectations?
It absolutely did. I mean, I was waiting to talk about this until we're in the water, and I think we still have, again, work to do to bring it in and really kind of go through it bolt by bolt and see what we learned. But I mean, so far, given what we learned during the mission and given how we performed on ascent, on entry, I always think about energy in terms of the states that you worry about the most, and every time we put these machines through these incredibly energetic states that came through. So I'm fairly confident that we made a big step tonight to get us on the path towards the surface. I think the path to the surface is open now. We do have to do all the work, and we'll make sure we talk about that as cleanly as we can. We learned a few things during the mission, but I have to tell you, this was an incredible test of an incredible machine.
From an American psyche standpoint, the Empire State Building was lit up red, white, and blue tonight. Our coverage was seen on baseball stadiums around the major leagues. How captivating was this experience for the American people, for the world, in fact, as we returned to the moon?
I have not been able to watch a lot of the coverage as we've progressed through the mission. I will tell you, just from my witness in Florida before launch, and then seeing the people's faces here, and then reading where I can about how things are going. I think this has been a gift to the world from NASA. NASA has given the world a gift, proving to to folks all over the place, especially young people, and that to me is what this is really about. Young people, when they see what we can do when we work together, when we have teams that collaborate, that it doesn't matter how hard the problems are, we can solve them. I'm hopeful that Artemis II, as folks witness what we were able to do with this incredible crew, this incredible team that we've birthed into the world, scientists and engineers and artists that have been inspired by this. And even if they don't come work in the program, which separately they should come work in the program because Lord knows we need the help, but even if they don't want to come work in the program, hopefully they grow up to recognize they can do amazing things when they work together and contribute to society and be good citizens and really change the way, the challenges that are coming in the world are overcomable if we work together like this.
And one final question. Flying to the moon, we did it. We've done it again this past week and a half or so. But the engineering that went behind the design of this mission and the precision, the pinpoint precision of this vehicle entering that entry corridor, it's almost mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is incredible when you think about the energies involved and the uncertainties involved. That when we inserted the vehicle into orbit, it was 99.2% down the middle. When we dropped the vehicle right on top of the fleet here, our guys knew exactly where to go, but the guidance was perfect. And it's interesting. I've got this question a lot over the last few weeks about, we did this before 53 years ago, and that I think it is a reasonable thing to contemplate, like what's gone on since then. And what I'd tell you is, when we did Apollo, which again, the more we learn about what they did, the more magical it seems what they were able to accomplish given the technology and the learnings that they had. But when we did Apollo, the architects of Apollo, Gilbert, Seaman, von Braun, Mueller, what they really, really wanted to do, as they were contemplating what it meant to expand our range of action to the lunar surface, what they wanted to do was learn how to live and work in space for a long time. They wanted to do that first before they were confident they could expand their range of action to the moon. Now, of course, the politics of the time and the mission at the time was different, and so they had to go straight to the moon and bring people home. And then after that, the program kind of lost its momentum. But after that, NASA kept moving along those paths, right? So we recognized during Apollo that reusability was going to be important. We spent a lot of money on those machines, and we spent a lot of money on these machines here. But we recognized that reusability was important, which is why we built a winged space plane called Space Shuttle, and then we used that reusable machine to build a space station. And we learned for 25 years how to live and work in space, and have been able to develop technologies that can enable exploration. So really, what I think is now, 53 years later, we're at the point where the architects of Apollo would have been pleased that we're now ready to actually go back to the moon and go back to stay, because we've learned all the things we needed to learn.
There's a lot of people pleased here tonight, and we really thank you for joining us. Amit Kshatriya, NASA's Associate Administrator, as we begin to hoist the crew onto the helicopters to head back to the recovery ship. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
congratulations, Amit. This is Mission Control Houston, with the crew members now beginning to be hoisted aboard the Navy helicopters. Let's go to Megan Cruz aboard the USS John P. Murtha, who will take it from here.
Hey, Rob. Yeah, back on the bow of the ship here, we are seeing the helicopters circling Orion. The first one there, having just completed picking up the first astronaut. Helo 2 now, hovering just 40 feet above the front porch, lowering a recovery specialist out of the helicopter. That person will touch down in the front porch just there. The crew members already outfitted with a harness that will allow them to quickly attach to the hoisting device. Look at the power of those blades throwing water out at the center there, the front porch, with now 3 astronauts and the recovery specialists. Again, crews already outfitted with a harness vest. And here we go. Second astronaut now off the front porch, getting hoisted into the second helicopter. That helicopter will now hover just a distance away to give room for the first helicopter to come back and pick up the third astronaut. As we wait for that helicopter to come back, make its way back around, just want to mention that the President of the United States called our NASA administrator today while he was on the ship, just minutes after we interviewed him live on our coverage, and congratulated him and NASA on this history-making moment tonight. Helicopter 1 again hovering 40 feet over the front porch. We will soon see another recovery specialist getting lowered onto the front porch. Wow, imagine sitting on that front porch, the wind, the water. But again, the recovery team determined that a helicopter flight back to the ship here would be safer, faster, and more comfortable for our crew who just completed a 10-day mission around the moon. Third astronaut in the air, getting hoisted quickly back into the first helicopter now. That first helicopter now on its way back to the ship here. We will soon see it land in just a few minutes. Again, all this action happening just 3,000 yards away from us, so a very quick flight back to the flight deck. And now the only person left on the front porch, Commander Reed Wiseman. That second helicopter now making its way back over to the front porch. Here it comes. Making its final approach here. The last astronaut, Commander Reed Wiseman, now off the front porch and almost into the second helicopter. Both now on their way back to the ship where we are, the USS John P. Murtha, just west of San Diego in the Pacific Ocean. Exciting to see our 4 crew members minutes away from landing on the flight deck here on the recovery ship. 550 people on this ship, excited, ready, anxious, looking forward to welcoming this crew aboard. Watching them now with our own eyes. Close to the ship here. Hearing them begin to hover on the flight deck, which is just across from us here on the bow. first helicopter coming in. And wheels down. Wheels down of the first helicopter carrying 2 of our Artemis II crew. Pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook. Kilo 1 on deck reported on the recovery loop. Again, the mission audio loops that the recovery team are using here to communicate with one another. And an announcement just made on the ship, integrity incoming. 2 more helicopters on their way to the flight deck, one carrying the crew, the other, one of our imagery helicopters. Again, kudos to our imagery and aerial teams for giving us these beautiful views of history in the making. Set amid a gorgeous, soon-to-be sunset here in the Pacific Ocean. Second helicopter making its approach of the flight deck. Plenty of people here on the bow with their cell phones out, filming this moment. Some impressive flying here by the Navy as we are seconds away from wheels down. And there you go. We now have all 4 Artemis II crew members on the USS John P. Murtha. I'm sure they're happy to be out of the water and on this recovery ship with, again, 550 people on board, ready to welcome them home. But first, as we've been saying throughout the broadcast, just making sure the crew feel good. We reported that they were feeling good when they were in Orion, but those were just initial, quick, verbal assessments of how they're feeling. Their destination tonight, the medical bay here on the ship, right after we power down the helicopters here. The team on the flight deck working quickly but methodically. Waiting for just one more helicopter to touch down. Very limited personnel here on the flight deck.
Restricted maneuvering doctrine is in effect.
As that third helicopter touches down.
The ship is at flight quarters. Stand clear of waiter decks, ACO frame 095, where no cover stop side, thrown articles over the side, hold all trash and garbage on station. Flight quarters.
While just a few folks on the flight deck itself, there are plenty more on some upper decks. You'll see in some of our views a very packed crowd overhead. Announcements being made over the ship's loudspeaker system, reminding folks to stay clear of operational areas like the flight deck, so that teams can work quickly to get the crew off of the helicopters and into the medical bay. Splashdown today, 5:06 p.m. Pacific time. We are within 2 hours of that splashdown time, and already we have all 4 crew members on the flight deck of the USS John P. Murtha. Again, crew waiting before getting out for the helicopters to completely shut down. Safety, of course, very important to NASA and the U.S. military. So we'll wait just a couple of minutes here before we start seeing crew members walk off the helicopters one by one. All right, and now here we see pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook sitting on the edge of one of the helicopters, looking in great spirits. That familiar smile and laugh from Victor, I can see it from here. Christina, I'm sure, feeling the same way, just blocked a little bit by our camera here, but we'll see her here shortly. A photographer taking their pictures. Victor saluting folks on the flight deck. They look like they're in great spirits. Happy to be home, I'm sure. If you're sitting at home, I hope you too are wondering, what would you want to ask them if you got a chance to talk to them, because that is what I'm thinking about. Getting the opportunity to talk to or ask questions of these 4 astronauts who just made history as the first crew to return to the moon since 1972. Oh, there we see Christina there, also smiling. Finally peering out, waving at the cameras. Hello to you too, Christina, yes? Welcome back. Welcome, welcome home. A loudspeaker announcement on the ship saying, "Welcome home, Integrity." Victor in great spirits. I can't see who he's talking to, but I kind of think that he might be talking to his other 2 crew members. Shouting from across the flight deck, congratulations to one another. And so now we see some Navy personnel walking up to the helicopter. This is again the first helicopter carrying pilot Victor Glover and mission specialist Christina Cook. Both have taken off their helmets now. Some pictures, video to catalog this historic moment. A beautiful sunset just behind them here in the Pacific Ocean. Golden hour. These pictures will be beautiful. Now we see NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. He is on the flight deck, as well as Flight Surgeon Rick Schuring walking over to Victor and Christina first. We saw the administrator walk over to the other helicopter, which is carrying Commander Reed Weissman and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. We heard from Rick earlier in the broadcast. Again, he said he's going to be out there on the flight deck to do another initial assessment of the crew, ask them how they're feeling, anything bothering them. But again, from what I'm seeing, they look like they're in great spirits and feeling pretty good for folks who just traveled 695,000 miles from Florida to the moon and now here to the Pacific Ocean. We're now seeing NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman walking across the flight deck. He had been talking to Reed and Jeremy, now approaching Victor and Christina. A hug from Victor, a hug from Christina. What a moment that we're getting to experience together. I'm sure congratulatory words. You know, we got to speak to the administrator live on this broadcast as well, and he said the kid in him right now, giddy, absolutely giddy at what we were able to accomplish today. Returning them home safely and in good spirits after a 10-day mission around the moon. And here we go. We're seeing Jeremy walking, waving across the flight deck, now on his way to the medical bay. It's a short walk, less than a minute. Again, that's why the recovery team decided to use helicopters to get them on the flight deck for that short walk to medical bay. And now on the flight deck, we see the chief of the astronaut office, Scott Tingle. Rick Schuring switching places. He's going over to the other helicopter. Big hugs from Victor, Christina to Scott. Again, a gorgeous sunset setting the stage for this recovery tonight. All right, and now here we are, Christina, making her way, looking thankful, grateful, happy to be home. You can see she's looking up. Again, lots of people, just a few levels up off the flight deck, welcoming her home. Scott holding the door like a gentleman, but back on his way to the other crew still on the flight deck. So still on the flight deck, Victor Glover and Reed Weissman. It looks like Victor will be the next one headed to medical bay. More hugs, more hugs. He's a hugger. Victor looking good as he walks across the flight deck. NASA administrator applauding. Victor applauding for all the folks on the ship with him who played a role in their safe return today. And finally, just one Artemis II crew member left on the flight deck, Commander Reed Weissman. Applause from the group there on the flight deck, I'm sure, as well as on the level just above them, packed with people. Reed looking good as he takes his steps towards the medical bay. See our 4 Artemis II crew members back on the ship. Again, now they will head into medical bay, where they will be assessed by flight surgeons from both NASA as well as the Canadian Space Agency. A more in-depth assessment. When they get to medical bay, they will each have their own nurse. They will be helped out of their suits. And then again, we'll check to see that they're feeling good. Make sure it's not just adrenaline, but that they are feeling good from their long journey back from the moon. Beautiful shot of that sunset, illuminating our flight deck. All right, and now with our astronauts safely on board, I want to welcome on Artemis Recovery Director Lily Villarreal. Lily, I don't know how you must be feeling right now. Ecstatic, relieved?
So ecstatic, relieved. Of course, we still have to bring the capsule into the well deck of the ship, but this is a major milestone to have the crew here on the ship and in medbay. You know, our team has been preparing and working really hard, and I'm just so proud of them all. Everything went very well, just as planned. Our teammates in Houston, the flight control team was just amazing. We were able to have great conversations and communications about everything. And I don't know what else to say. I'm just so ecstatic. It's such a wonderful feeling to get to this point. Again, we still have to get the capsule, but this is huge for all of us in landing recovery, and I couldn't do this without my team, and of course the full support of the U.S. military. There's going to be lots of, high fives when we get the capsule back in, and I'm so happy that the crew's doing well, Ryan's doing well, and thank you for for everybody watching.
Yeah, it was great to watch the crew come back to the ship with you. How were you feeling when you were seeing them looking so happy to be home and feeling really good?
You know, the funny thing is that we had video of them from inside the Orion vehicle. They were like that from the beginning. When we opened the hatch, they were already out of their seats, having a good time, waiting for us to open the hatch. And they opened the hatch, and of course we did the first medical assessment. Everybody was doing very well, and they were just having such a great time with the medical team that was inside the capsule. I think they were all taking selfies with the phones that they have, probably talking about what they saw, and it was just smiles all around. They were having such a great time. And then we put them on the front porch when we were ready to put them on the front porch. And again, you could see they were just so ecstatic to be home and talking to everybody. So we were very happy to see all of that in the control room of the LFOC.
How remarkable is that? Again, if we think about their journey, the 695,000-mile journey around the moon and back, coming back at 30 times faster than the speed of sound. I mean, how remarkable is that they are in such good spirits?
I mean, this is an amazing crew. I think you guys have seen it for the past 10 days. They're wonderful people, and we're so happy that they brought us along on that ride. And I can't wait to see all the additional videos and pictures that they have that, we'll get a hold of now that they're back on the ground. And I can't wait to hear how, a little more than what we saw on the press briefings from the crew about what they saw. It's just fantastic. Some of my favorite people around this 10 days was the science team and how excited they were. And so this is exactly how we feel in the landing recovery team when the science team went, oh my goodness, when they heard all the discussions about the moon. This is exactly how we feel now in the landing recovery team. We're so ecstatic. Yeah. Again, we have to recover the capsule. I want to make sure we don't forget about our Orion.
Lily's all about business. She's thinking about what's next. But yeah, speaking of these 10 days, I mean, we have been along for the journey with them, live with them 24/7 for 10 days, and just really seeing the engagement that we've gotten from around the world. What do you hope people take away from this mission?
I think that's fantastic. So, my story was that I went to the Kennedy Space Center. I was born in Colombia. I was 10 years old when we moved to the United States, but when I was 7, my family took me to the visitor center, and that's when I learned about Apollo. And we went to the moon, and I learned about astronauts, and that story was what really fueled me to want to do STEM and want to be an astronaut. And I think that this Artemis program is going to do exactly what what girls, my age back then is 7, young people right now, girls and even like young men, obviously. But we want to empower people to know that you can do this, right? If you want to come and work for NASA, if I did it, they can do it. And Artemis program is just going to inspire everybody. And I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
Like Apollo inspired me.
Thank you so much, Lily. Really appreciate you being here. As you said, still a lot of work to do, 5 to 6 more hours to recover Orion that's still out in the water. So I'll let you get back to it. But you had beautiful words to say again. We hope that this inspires people. We hope that you come and join us at NASA and accomplish great things with us in the future. Back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Megan, and safe sailing out there in the Pacific. Here in Mission Control, it is now all quiet. The team of flight controllers and all their support personnel have left the room to enjoy the aftermath of a textbook touchdown by Integrity that splashed down in the Pacific right on target to complete this historic flyby of the moon, the Artemis II mission. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for the night and point you to a post-splashdown news conference in 15 minutes at 9:35 p.m. Central Time, 10:35 p.m. Eastern Time, where managers will discuss the return of the Integrity spacecraft and the completion of the Artemis II mission. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage for this evening and historic mission in the history books. This is Mission Control Houston.
NASA wrapping up their coverage of this historic night. and getting ready now for that 10:35 p.m. news conference. Let's show you some of the images from earlier today of this historic return of that moon mission. So we are getting ready now for that news conference as well, and that will take us through the rest of our coverage. As we also look to lead you up to the 11 o'clock Fox 35 news, which will begin at the conclusion of UFL football that's on Fox 35 right now. So again, that news conference coming up in about 15 minutes. I want to right now go ahead and give you a live look at the deck of the USS John P. Murtha off the coast of San Diego. You can see the helicopters there. We know the Orion capsule still bobbing in the water right now. And we heard a little bit more about what that recovery process is going to be like. So we're waiting for this news conference to begin. We're going to watch this for a moment here while we kind of reset, and we'll be right back with more here in a second. Just a few minutes away now from this news conference on the return of Artemis II, and I want to take you through some of the reactions that we are seeing tonight on social media from officials, from Florida lawmakers as well. This from NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman, posting shortly after splashdown, saying, "And splashdown. America's back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon and bringing them home safely. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy did an outstanding job. These talented astronauts inspired the world and represented their space agencies and nations as humanity's ambassadors to the stars. This was a test mission, the first crewed flight of SLS and Orion, pushing farther into the unforgiving environment of space than ever before, and it carried real risk. They accepted that risk for all we stood to learn and for the exciting missions that follow as we return to the lunar surface, build a moon base, and prepare for what comes next." And they were not alone. The entire NASA workforce, our commercial and international partners, and the hopes and dreams of people all over the world were with them. The astronauts know it, and you should too. This mission would not have been possible without you. Congratulations, Artemis II, mission accomplished. And tweeting a picture of that moment that we were all watching together, splashdown. You can see that the parachutes deployed. The splash from the water of that deep blue Pacific Ocean that we saw at 8:07 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Rick Scott, thank God for a safe return. This crew has inspired a new generation to explore the final frontier. Good to see NASA reaching for the stars again and using Florida's Space Coast as the starting point for giant leaps in human history. Senator Ashley Moody saying, "Welcome home, Artemis II crew. Congratulations on a safe return and a historic mission. Americans are proud of your courage as we continue to push the limits of space exploration." Congressman Mike Herodopoulos on Twitter saying, "Welcome back to Earth, astronauts. A victory for mankind we are fortunate enough to have watched unfold." And then on Truth Social, President Donald Trump saying, "Congratulations to the great and very talented crew of Artemis II. The entire trip was spectacular. The landing was perfect. And as President of the United States, I could not be more proud. I look forward to seeing you all at the White House soon. We'll be doing it again. And then next step, Mars." Signed, President Donald J. Trump. So we are now just a few minutes away from this news conference, post-splashdown news conference that we're expecting any minute now. So still more to come tonight on what has been a long night. But an exciting night. And so we want to check back in with Fox 35's Esther Bauer, who is joining us, still standing by outside Kennedy Space Center. And Esther, we last talked to you after splashdown. There's now been a lot that has happened since then. We have watched as those crew members were hoisted from their raft, and they've now landed on that Navy ship off the coast of San Diego, and now we're seeing a pretty sunset there in California as well. So just what a day, and what a way to cap off this historic mission.
What a day, and you mentioned them being hoisted. We were watching in awe after these astronauts had just come back to Earth in a fireball, and then we see them get onto that front porch raft. But no, they don't take a boat over to the big barge that is there to get them. They're literally hoisted by helicopter after coming back from the moon. Then we see them flying through the open sea before getting onto that barge. I thought that was striking, and it just shows how much training these astronauts go through. I mean, to literally go to the moon, then ride this fireball back to Earth, and then just get hoisted up by a helicopter to do the final leg of the mission. That was extremely exciting to watch, and I'm sure the astronauts are like, this is nothing. I just went to the moon. I just did what I did. Sure, pick me up by this chopper and take me back to the barge. So it has been an exciting night, and I think so much about the families, because they have been watching with the world, but having their loved ones in this capsule around the far side of the moon, just hoping and praying they are going to make it home safely. And can only imagine what they are feeling, knowing that they are soon to be en route back to Houston to hug them and just say, welcome home. We can't wait to hear all your stories. And also, I think for the crew, Garrett, they haven't even been able to process everything quite yet.
Yeah.
They've been, every single minute has really been planned out, all their wake-up calls, all the mission milestones they had to do. So I think for them, once they get home and they get to sleep in their own bed, they'll be able to close their eyes and actually start fully processing, oh my gosh, what did I just do? What did I just see? What did we just learn? And I think that is going to be incredible for them once they readjust to life here on Earth, which, by the way, it looked like they were doing pretty good. They were looking pretty strong. Stepping out of that capsule, their voices sounded great. So I think that they are doing good, but I just can't wait for them to really take in what we've all been watching in awe for the past 10 days, totally mesmerized by the mission, for their families and for the astronauts to really process what they were part of. And Garrett, what they are pushing forward. I love that when we heard NASA's new admin, he was like, we're not just, stopping here and this was great. He's already talking about Artemis II because we know they are trying to put those landers on the moon in 2027. And then they want to get, people back on the moon walking in 2028. So he's like, let's get the capsule up. Let's dig into that data. I'll be very curious to see how the heat shields did. We know they performed great because the crew is safe and sound. But they really want to test that thermal system, test those heat shields, and really see what went right and what went wrong with this capsule. So really looking forward to what they say in this post-launch presser. But I'm sure they're just going to give themselves a lot of praise because it really was a picture-perfect mission from liftoff here at KSC to when we saw a splashdown. Just awesome. Yeah, and I was struck by some of the same thoughts that you were, and watching them walk across the surface of that Navy ship that we're looking at right now. You can only imagine how that feels, trying to get your Earth legs back, and then you're walking on a ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Yes. But like you said, they look strong. I saw Reed Wiseman, the commander, let go for a minute of the person he was walking beside, and seemed to be doing fine. But you talk about processing this. And something that I would imagine they haven't really had much of a chance to do because, they are up there. They have a long list of things they're doing, science experiments, the observations, all of that stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to hear some of what their takeaways are once they have had time to kind of process all of this. So, Fox 35's Esther Bauer, we appreciate your hard work out there and your coverage throughout for this, and really good to chatting with you tonight on this fun night. Thanks for joining us on our live streaming coverage here. Yes, it's been awesome, and I'm sure we'll be talking about future moon missions pretty soon. Yeah, there is no doubt about that. All right, Esther, thank you. I want to go ahead and get us now because we are just about to hear this news conference get underway at Johnson Space Center in Houston. The live stream getting underway right now, playing a video. Going to hear from officials and hear their take on how everything went here. We will take you with this up to 11 o'clock here on Fox Local. Then we'll hand things off, I should say 11 o'clock or the start of Fox 35 News, which is scheduled around 11 o'clock, dependent on UFL football. So here on Fox Local, we'll take you up to the start of that newscast, then we will hand things off. You will still be able to watch this, though, on our digital, our other platforms, our second stream, our social channels as well. So let's go ahead and listen in. They are playing this splashdown video, the moment of impact there in the Pacific Ocean. What a moment it was. We were all here and experiencing that together. This news conference now getting underway, so let's listen in.
In the Pacific Ocean at 7:07 p.m. Central Time this evening, after NASA's record-setting mission that took them around the moon and brought them home. Good evening and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. I'm Rachel Kraft with NASA Communications. Several leaders to talk about the successful mission. They are Amit Kshatriya, Associate Administrator, Dr. Lori Glaze, Head of the Artemis Programs, Rick Henfling, Entry Flight Director, Howard Hugh, Orion Program Manager, and Sean Quinn, Exploration Ground Systems Program Manager. We'll hear briefly from them and then take questions from here in the room and on the phone. And with that, we'll start with Amit.
Good evening. Yesterday when we were in this room, we told you that the crew would put their lives behind our confidence, and they did. Yesterday in this room, we told you that today belongs to the engineers and technicians who touched this machine, and it does, and their work was good. Welders at Michoud shaped the heat shield and joined the rocket. Technicians at Kennedy packed parachutes, stacked the vehicle, stacked Orion, stacked SLS. Engineers in Bremen, Torino, and across the Alliance built a service module. Workers at Utah cast the boosters. Teams at Stennis fired the engines. Flight controllers in this building in Houston sat console for 10 days straight and sat silent in the night for 6 minutes while plasma took the signal. Navy divers pulled the crew out of the Pacific in an incredible way. The vehicle spoke for all of them. And at 25,000 feet per second, it said the work was good. As we say in our business, physics votes last. The families of the crew said this week there had been happiness and joy, but also anxiety, wanting to get their loved ones home safely. I was with them tonight. 4 families sat through those 6 minutes, and their courage is the same as the crew that just came home. Yesterday, Flight Director Jeff Radigan said we had less than a degree of an angle to hit after 250,000 miles to the moon. And their team hit it. That is not luck. That is 1,000 people doing their jobs. You all heard the crew's words during the mission. They were incredibly inspirational. They carried the torch from Apollo through station and around the far side of the moon. Their words belong to them. We'll get to hear from them as soon as they're back here. But tonight belongs to the team that built the machine that they wrote. We talk a lot about what gets in our way. The impediment to action is where we find the way to get to action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This program faced every obstacle an institution could face. The team met each one with work, and tonight is the proof. But that work needs to continue. The path to the lunar surface is open, but the work ahead is greater than the work behind us. It always will be. 53 years ago, humanity left the moon. This time we return to stay. Let us finish what they started. Let us focus on what was left undone. Let us not go to plant flags and leave, but to stay. With firmness in our purpose, with gratitude for the hands who built the machines, and with love for the ones that we carry with us. Welcome home, integrity. I'll hand it over to Dr. Glaze.
Thank you so much, Amit. So y'all, we did it. We sent 4 amazing people to the moon and safely returned them to Earth for the first time in more than 50 years. To the generation that now knows what we're capable of, welcome to our moonshot. I want to thank our entire team across this nation and around the world who gave every ounce of ingenuity and effort to make. I am so proud of each and every one of you, what you have achieved over the last 10 days. NASA has shown that ambitious goals are worth pursuing and can inspire the world. We are so thrilled to have Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy back here on Earth and safely aboard the USS John P. Murtha. Our team is fired up, and this mission, as we've been talking about, is just the beginning. To all of our new followers out there, please stay tuned. This is the first mission, our first mission to the moon, of many more to come. And we can't wait. Our teams are so ready to get to work on the next missions and explore the lunar surface and bring the world along with us. I'll pass it over to Rick.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you all for your continued interest in this mission. What a truly spectacular day it was for NASA and all of our international partners. This crew has said time and again that they were going for all of humanity, and today we fulfilled that objective by completing their journey and returning them safely to Earth. I've got a few stats for those who are interested, courtesy of the Flight Dynamics Officer in Mission Control. Integrity and her crew of 4 astronauts flew 700,237 miles. We reached a peak velocity of 24,664 miles per hour. We hit our flight path angle target within 0.4%. We flew an entry range of 1,957 miles, and we landed within less than a mile of our target. What a tremendous day. Over to Howard.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you to the flight control team. What an outstanding job. Wow, what a fantastic day. I mean, we've dreamed as a team of reaching this day, and appreciate Amit's comments. I mean, so many people have worked very hard, tirelessly to get this day. I think this mission has been historic and has demonstrated new capabilities for Orion spacecraft, has taken our crew farther than any crews that have ever gone to the moon and back safely. 252,756 miles. And that is a fantastic feat. We got a lot more to do. And I'm so happy that we get to have this moment, but we're going to have a lot of these moments coming up. And I want to thank the entire Orion team. They have worked tirelessly. They've dedicated many hours. They've committed to excellence and innovated and attacked challenges that we've come up with for both our NASA team, our industry partners, and our European team as well. We did it together. We brought the crew home safely. They deserve a round of applause. It was a terrific day for them as well. And I want to thank the crew. They have been a fantastic inspiration to our teams as well. You've heard their messages. We are so happy they're back on the ground. We can't wait to see them as well. And finally, we've learned a lot from this mission. Number one was bringing the crews home safely, but it's also a test flight. And like Amit said, we have a work ahead of us to be done. We're going to learn from this mission. We're going to look at the data, and we're going to move forward. This is the start of a new era of human space exploration. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Howard. What an incredible end to an incredible mission. I got to tell you, I think I'm trying to pick out the best thing that happened today, and I'll just say that we were sitting in the back room getting ready for this press conference, and Howard gets a call from Reed Weissman, the commander of Integrity, and it was so great to hear his voice and tell us that all the crew is okay, and we can say that we did our mission. We accomplished what we set out to do. I'm very proud of the efforts of the Exploration Ground Systems team that supported both the launch and recovery operations alongside our Navy partners. All the hard work and dedication over the last couple years paid off today, and the team did a great job. Our recovery teams are currently in the process of bringing Orion back on the well deck of the ship, and hopefully within about 4 or 5 hours it'll be hard down in the back end of the USS Mirtha. It's good to be NASA. It's good to be an American today. Thank you.
All right, it's time now for questions. We'll start here in the room and take several from the phone. For those on the phone, you can press *1 to get into the question queue, and please limit to one question if you can. We'll start here with Joey.
Thanks so much, Joey Rillett with Reuters, and congrats on a really nice mission. Curious to hear more about how the astronauts are doing, where are they going to sleep tonight, and then also, when do you guys expect to announce the crew for Artemis III? Thanks.
So the answer to your second question, Joey, is soon. I will not put units on that value, but soon. Rick, you want to talk about the crew, what they're doing?
Yeah, we saw the crew a number of times after they got out of the spacecraft. We saw them on the front porch. Everybody was happy and healthy. I saw Victor as he was sitting on the edge of the helicopter on the flight deck of the ship, and he was smiling and in good spirits. And everything we've been hearing from the surgeons is the flight crew is happy and healthy and ready to come home to Houston.
Hi, Lauren Grush with Bloomberg. Congratulations again. You know, obviously, it's been such a great mission to watch from start to finish, but I guess I'm wondering if you had to categorize, this was a test flight. What would you say is the issue that you feel maybe the most grateful arose during this mission so that you could apply that lesson learned to the next?
Maybe
Like me,
Howard, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, I think, we're taking a lot of lessons learned. Certainly learning about how the crew operates a spaceship has been a really great learning experience, and flying and ability for them to test drive for our spacecraft has been good. I think, as we mentioned previously, our pressure control assembly, where we discovered a leakage through the system. I think we learned a lot about that. That is a new finding. certainly we're going to go investigate that. We're going to look at that and move forward to make sure that we make some changes if necessary, but we'll get all the data and we'll go forward from there.
Marcia.
Associated Press, Marcia Dunn. The administrator described the crew as great communicators, almost poets. How is, this is going to be a tough act to follow for the upcoming crews soon to be picked. Talk about this crew in particular and what they brought to this that went beyond the scientific and the research and the engineering, please.
I'll just say that this particular crew, they've gotten to know each other so well. So each of them individually are just absolutely amazing individuals. But they, as a group, you could watch them and what they brought as you watch them in Orion over the last 10 days, operating just seamlessly between the four of them, just the teamwork, the camaraderie, I think they really brought an amazing sense of what we're trying to achieve with this mission. It's the mission for all humanity, a mission for all, and they really did represent that and tried to communicate that. I do know that our entire astronaut corps is spectacular, and so I have no doubt that the next teams will also rise to that level.
Jackie.
Hi all, Jackie Waddles, CNN. Congratulations. Question for Rick. I'm really anxious to hear what that blackout during reentry was like for you. And also just wanted to ask, that splashdown target being less than a mile off is incredible. Can you walk us through if anything, was outside of ordinary? I know we heard on comms there were some sensor issues just before entry interface. Just curious to hear more about that. Thanks.
Sure. So, blackout, there's really no beating around the bush with that. It's a difficult time because the flight control team wants to see data. We want to look at the data. We want to be able to provide input to the flight crew on how to fly their spaceship. And when we don't have data, we're trying to figure out what to do with ourselves. But we knew when blackout was going to start. It started when we expected. We knew when it was going to end. It ended when we expected. And so that gave us the trust that the spaceship was flying itself correctly. As far as some of the cautions and things that came up on the way down, the prop cautions, they were, we think that, again, that was learning of the spacecraft. Some of the limits are set a little bit tighter than we probably should have had them set, and we dispositioned those and moved on. As far as the comms post-landing, we don't quite know what was going on there, but we worked around it. We had comms with the recovery team, and we safely handed over the mission authority at the right time.
Okay, Josh.
Hi, Josh Denner, space.com. Really excited to hear that the crew is doing well. I'm interested, we saw Victor sitting on the edge of that helicopter once they landed on the ship, and it was great to see them all, walk across the deck. They were set to do an emergency egress test with a ladder, a backpack, I'm wondering if they've performed that yet, how soon they will be performing it, if they have, how it went.
I'm not familiar with an emergency egress test post-landing. Given that this was a test mission, the number one goal was to get the flight crew out of the spaceship as fast as we could, and we weren't looking at any post-landing objectives.
Yeah, we did do, I think, back when we were back on the launch pad, we did, during the CDDT, we did an emergency egress, but
yeah,
that's the only one I'm aware of that is. Yeah, but we'll check on it for you.
Eric.
Eric Berger, Ars Technica. Congratulations on making what I know is really hard look easy. It was a beautiful mission. Amit, you said the work ahead is greater than the work behind us. Can you talk about, as sort of NASA rises to these far greater challenges in Artemis III, Artemis IV, and building the moon base, how important it is for you and the agency to be flying humans in deep space again and sort of to be at an operational cadence? This has to be pretty uplifting to the workforce to put the 50 years of not being back to the moon behind us.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, flight cadence and iteration is the key to reliability and safety. We were waiting to fly this mission for several years. A lot of that was because of the issues we saw during Artemis I and making sure we did that the right way, and we tried to make sure the machine was perfect before we flew it. But the real way to do that is to keep iterating, you keep flying, keep learning, keep getting data in the flight environment. So that piece of how we've changed the architecture and demanding that higher cadence is going to be, I would say, mandatory for us to be successful. We need that muscle memory to exist. We need the data to keep coming in, and we need to be able to quickly iterate and change the machine as we learn from it. Everything we learned from Artemis II, we're going to get right after it, but I would say it's essential.
Okay, Irene.
Irene Klotz with Aviation Week and Space Technology for Amit. What do you think will be your biggest challenge to ensure that this mantle and responsibility of inheriting what Apollo did does not end like Apollo?
I think we've talked about this a little bit before. You know, what the architects of Apollo, Gilruth, von Braun, Siemens, Mueller, what they really wanted to do when they were given the challenge of expanding the range of action to the moon was to learn to live and work in space for a long time. They wanted to do that first. I talked a little bit about this with Rob earlier. I think, you know, and of course, because of the nature of the environment they were in, you know, they were in a race. They achieved their objectives. They were geopolitical as well as technological. But once it was done, it was done. And I think the foundation they wanted to build on is what we went to afterwards. So we wanted to, you know, investigate reusability with shuttle. We did that. We wanted to learn to live in space for a long time with station. We've got to that point now, 25 years of occupation. And now it's interesting. I think where we are with the program is kind of where they wanted us to be before they decided to go do that, to actually enable a sustainable presence, to learn how to live and work there for a long time. So, you know, it's a weird irony of history that, you know, it took that long for us to do that, but we weren't sitting idle while that happened. We developed the capability to have an enduring presence, you know, in space, and now we're going to take advantage of that now that we've reached back to the moon.
Okay, we'll take one more in the room from Ken Chang, and then we'll go take several from the phone.
Hi, Ken Chang from New York Times. I guess for Rick and everybody else, could you talk about what the last 13 minutes were like? There had to have been some anxiety, and what was the moment where you could finally relax, and when did you start celebrating in Mission Control?
Certainly there's anxiety. If you didn't have anxiety bringing this spacecraft home, you probably didn't have a pulse. You know, I have a lot of trust in my team. We've got all flight controllers in the room on entry day went through a rigorous training process, and they are the system experts on their respective part of the spacecraft. And so while there's anxiety, there's a lot of confidence because the team is there to do a job, and we've trained well, and we executed well. We all breathed a sigh of relief once the side hatch opened up. That's when we brought the team in. We said a few words to the flight controllers, and then we turned around to the families and waved to the families and gave them a thumbs up. And we all watched as a flight control team as each of the 4 astronauts got out of the spaceship and were hoisted up onto the helicopters. It was a great day.
Okay, we'll take several questions from the phone now. The first one is from Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
Hey, good evening. Question for Lori or Howard. I know it's very, very early here, but any initial thinking about the heat shield performance relative to Artemis I? And could you walk through how the heat shield will be assessed in the coming weeks and months? Thanks so much.
So I'll just start, and then I'll hand it over to Howard. How's that? So, you know, initially we gathered a lot of data already. Certainly you saw there were aircraft that were positioned in order to do some imagery and collect data. So we've got some of those data that can be analyzed in the coming days and weeks. We also had divers below the surface that took imaging of the heat shield before it was brought onto the Mertha, so that we could understand exactly what state it's in after it landed. And so I think we've already begun the data gathering piece of it. I'm sure there'll be more assessments once we get on the ship. And then Howard, why don't you talk kind of what the next steps are?
Yeah, we already have 2 of our heat shield experts on board the ship. And so when we get the crew module into the well deck, and we'll do some inspections right off the bat. Like Lori said, we've got underwater divers that are taking pictures. And then after that, once we've inspected that on the ship, we'll transfer back to Kennedy Space Center. We'll have opportunity to look in detail and do scans of the heat shield, and we'll have a lot of good data from that. We also captured a lot of great imagery. Obviously, we haven't had time to digest all that data, but we will in the next several days and make sure we understand if there's anything that happened that was anomalous. but we're very excited. The team is very excited to get that data from both the imagery and seeing it live in person.
Next up is Jackie Mogensen with Scientific American.
Hi, thanks for this. I wanted to follow up on one of the earlier questions about the astronauts. I was curious if it might be possible to tell us a little bit more, if we know, about what the astronauts will be doing in their first days back on Earth, you know, what their first meal might be or activities with their families. Thanks so much.
Well, the top priority is going to be to get them promptly back to their families here in Houston. As far as the specifics, I'm sure each of the crew members has something special planned with their families, and that'll be the priority, is for them to take some time and spend with their loved ones.
Yeah, I'm not sure we answered it, but we do anticipate them arriving back here in Houston 12 to 24 hours after splashdown, so that would be between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening tomorrow.
Next on the phone is Jeff Faust with Space News.
Good evening. I wonder if you can talk through what the processing of the Orion spacecraft is going to be now that it's back. What point do you sort of extract all of the lessons learned from the mission and start applying them to Artemis II in order to have that mission ready to go launch in about a year's time? Thanks.
Yeah, you know, we will have what we call quick initial 30-day report that we'll put together. Every team will be doing their due diligence and analyzing all the data we have. The crew